What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the part 9 of a story where Issei was betrayed and became the Jinchuuriki of Kyuubi. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Also, this is a translate version, you may find some mistakes, specifically in the character's gender. Issei of course is a male, but this time we have a female volley, female drag and female great red. Well, with that out, let's get into part 9. Human world Issei's home. Previously we could see that someone appeared in front of Issei's couples having the 4 generals that he tried to save before everything got worse. "Hello, I'm here to bring your friends," he said while dodging an attack from Trihiksa. "Don't worry, I'm not the enemy." Trihiksa. "I highly doubt it, die now," she said, ready to launch her attack if it weren't for Sakvara intervening. Sakvara. "Stop Trihiksa, we are not in the supernatural to go around fighting as if nothing had happened, plus those 4 are acquaintances of Issei and possibly are like us in feelings for him, and who are you, and how could you come in here without us noticing?" she said seriously while she was on guard for anything. Lavinia. "Wait Sakvara, I know him, he is a former co-worker, I can advocate for his presence since thanks to me, he was able to save those 4 from Issei killing them," he said, advancing forward. Leisha. "And when did you accompany us?" he said because he had not noticed her since they arrived. Lavinia. "Since they escaped from that attack with Karama, I accompanied them because he asked me to." Sakvara. "Later I will talk to him about bringing unknown people with us, but right now I want to know what he is doing here and how he was able to save the 4 from their death," he said looking seriously at both individuals. Lavinia. "He is, how to say, a very ancient person, let's say he knows more than he seems, he was one of the informants of the /dogs group in their past when we were mercenaries, in addition to being the Buddhist god." Buddha. "Hello, as you suppose I am the god of enlightenment, you can call me Buddha since I don't like honorifics." Chisato. "Wait Buddha, I thought you had been out of everything in the world since you ascended, why are you acting again when you said you wouldn't?" Buddha. "Well I had a good reason to return to the ring and it is." Buddha. "I was bored." Aika. "Seriously, he is the god of Buddhism, he seems like a lazy person out there who doesn't care about anything other than himself," she said looking at the others, earning some nods from them. Buddha. "Hey, being thousands of years old makes one have different tastes, plus being off the radar without action for so long bored me, so I decided to intervene in this whole mess of lovesickness and things like that," he said while eating a lollipop. Sharon. "Wait, are you on our side or the others?" Buddha. "Yours of course, I am the god of enlightenment, I am not into the idiotic things that others do, I am guided by my instincts and not by what others say, that is not true, Miss Brunhold." Everyone present looked at her trying to know how the god of Buddhism knew her. Brunhold. "Aha, it's true he is so I can confirm it, he is not influenced by simple words." Jer. "Wait sister, how do you know him?" Brunhold. "There was a time where I was the main exterior interpreter of Asgard Jer, in one of my jobs I met him because I dealt with his pantheon due to an alliance between the two." Buddha. "Come, I am trustworthy." Brunhold. "Stop Buddha, remember what you tried when we met." Buddha. "Come on, it was a long time ago and I was very bored that time, and I was still young at that time, and I was very childish." Brunhold. "Well, I don't think my partner cares about that, especially after what he became, so you better not be flirting with me like that time or those present, unless you want to meet him in that state," she said, seeing him from serious and scary way. Buddha only felt a shiver down his spine as he remembered everything Issei had done so far. Buddha. "Noted, I won't do anything, I'll just help you, I swear, hehehe," he said, laughing in fear, making most of them laugh. But suddenly everyone stopped laughing at him because a slap was heard, so they looked in the direction where it came from, seeing Sakvara with her hand raised, showing that it was she who gave that slap to Lavinia, who was looking at the ground while she was silent. And still. Smith. "What's wrong with you Sakvara, because you slapped her?" he shouted as he headed towards both of them, although he stopped because Trihiksa got in the way with her tail, looking seriously at the discussion they had before. Trihiksa. "Wait and listen before acting," she said while looking seriously at Lavinia, which attracted everyone's attention to know what kind of conversation she had with Sakvara for him to slap her like that. Sakvara. "Give me a very good reason not to kick you out of my house right now, you think I'll let you do that just because you feel guilty about that white bitch's actions?" Lavinia. "I must pay for what my stupid sister did to Issei, please let me make amends for what I caused because I didn't raise her well," she said, trying to look up to see her only to be received by another slap from her with greater force, this time causing him to wobble a little. Sakvara. "I won't let you be with Issei if you only think that way, if you want to pay for the mistake she caused then don't come asking for Issei's help for that, because you would only be using him to calm your pain and anger, and it would be the same as she made it." She only used it as an object with a purpose and then threw it away when she achieved it, and that would be different from what you propose now, he said, looking at her seriously as his power emanated. Lavinia. I'm sorry, but I knew that stupid Valerie would try this when she reported the meeting to all the supernatural that day, so I tried to intervene together with him to avoid bringing more pain to everyone involved and make her reconsider everything. What happened to her, and it was my fault. I was the one who raised her badly. That's why Issei suffered because of me, so I must be the one to pay for all that, please understand. She said, crying with her eyes down. I must pay for what he did, and the only way to do it is by fulfilling the role that stupid Valerie should have had at his side. They were all serious. She was wanting to be part of them in Issei's harem for those selfish reasons. The whole atmosphere suddenly became cold and hostile. When she mentioned the last thing, everyone was angry. Sakvara. You know very well what this type of love caused to Issei, and yet you are asking that we allow it. Tell me, do you think that after seeing him at his most vulnerable moment, I will allow you to enter his life just for that? Right now I would kill if it weren't for the fact that you helped us before, so I'll make sure I don't listen to anything today. Leave while I still allow it, and don't show up until you clear your head, because if you come back and say the same stupid things in front of me or someone else, I swear that I'll show you what's going to happen to you. Go away at once, Lavinia, he said, turning around and going towards the others while Buddha approached Lavinia, although he said something when he passed by Sakvara. Buddha. I understand your point, young lady, and I respect it. I will take her back to reflect on what she wants to do regarding Issei, and when he is better we will return. I already dealt with the problem of the 4 girls, so you can be calm with them, but I recommend keeping an eye on them in case they are disoriented, he said, whispering closely. Yuta approached Lavinia, who was standing still with her eyes down, thinking about what Sakvara said, and teleported her to his bar so she could reflect on what she was thinking. Sakvara was only serious as she addressed the 4 unconscious girls being seen by the others who did not say anything. Sakvara. Chisato, Brunhild can take the 4 of them to recover at this time, while the rest of us look for Issei and his location. She said, looking at the aforementioned who nodded while asking Jer and Ruby for help. The rest of us, let's start. Look for Issei while we wait for news from Kurama. They all nodded, starting to be their job. Everything supernatural was tense at this moment. Several days had passed since the last sighting of Issei and his attack, which worried them even more due to the uncertainty. Everyone was waiting for his second attack and which of the races he would attack. No one could predict his following victims, although they tried to track him down, he was never found. When Grigori happened, the devils had followed his trail to the outskirts, where after several kilometers the trail disappeared as if nothing had happened. The factions, knowing this, decided to look for him nearby of the place and its territories to find his whereabouts, but they never located him. The only time they managed to find him was when a patrol of Yaques was completely annihilated, causing them to fear that they would be the next to pay. But since that event they have not been. He did not see him again until he was notified that a patrol of Asgardians was annihilated in the same way on the outskirts of their territory. The same thing happened with a group of dragons that hunted him for wanting to fight him, but as always they were completely dismembered. All this generated even more fear in them. He was playing with them, he was hunting them randomly, so that they would not know who would be their next targets. They knew Issei was hunting them for fun. He showed it with those 3 groups, and more after that. Each leader announced the state of their bodies, which generated horror in the masses. In the 3 patrols there were bodies that looked like he had feasted on their entrails. Apparently Issei devoured them without caring who they were, or what. The leaders gave a maximum alert in each territory to try to give them time when he attacked them, so that the others could help them. But no one knew who the next prayer objective was, everyone except the hunter himself, because right now he was watching his enemies from afar. Next target, his next victims were in front of him without knowing what would happen at that moment. All the mythologies were speaking through a hologram, so as not to risk being attacked during their absence, as was the case with the fallen. But when they believed that this would give them time to put together a plan against what happened, the connection with one of them was interrupted unexpectedly, which confused them until the neighbor of that faction felt the power of Issei in the adjacent territory. But before he could say it, everyone felt the increase in monstrous power that Issei had and where it came from, worrying everyone present, who quickly sent their troops to help. Asgard. The second objective of her revenge was nothing more nor less than that Odin and his people will be able to overcome the calamity that Issei represents, will help arrive in time. What will happen to Lavinia and the others? Will Sakvara accept her or consider her an enemy? Let's find out. Asgard. Minutes before the attack, the whole place was relatively calm. Despite the recent events with the other territories, they lived in relative calm, without having any idea of the calamity that was approaching them. In the throne room we could see Odin and his wife with their son Thor in the middle of the meeting to deal with the threat that Issei currently represents to their lives. Everything was going well until the entire castle shook, causing the communication spell he had with the other factions to undo. But before they could do so, Something the three Nordic gods were afraid of the energy that was present, and without warning the screams and cries of their people began to be heard being punished by Issei. Odin. I'm here. He said seriously as he stood up and proceeded to summon his troops to try to stop him. Thor. Father, I will go to face him. He said, bringing his hammer. Odin. No son, you must take your mother and our people out of here while I take care of him with our warriors. Thor. What a dumb thing are you saying, father, you won't be able to stop him, he is more powerful than all of us. Freya. Odin, please listen to our son, not even all of us Nordics together could stop him from unleashing his fury on us, please come with us and let us flee while we can. Thor. Wait, I don't think fleeing from a battle as if I were a coward, if I did I could not consider myself a warrior, and less could I consider being worthy of being father's son. I won't flee away even if my death is certain, that is not my style. Freya. But my son. Odin. Enough, this is my order, I will not let my people pay for my mistakes and I won't allow my family to do it. Freya. But honey. Odin. This is my last word, both of you will flee Asgard with the rest of our people. I ask you not as the father of everything, but as a father and husband, please do it, I don't want to see my family pay for my mistakes. Outside the castle we could see how the entire place was on fire. The few guards that were around the city were trying to evacuate the citizens, while others were fighting against Issei to stop him. The ships tried to shoot him down with their cannons, but they did nothing against him. With their tails they were knocked down one by one, while the soldiers on the ground ran from their jaws and claws. They destroyed the buildings and streets with their advance, not even the Valkyries could stop them. Issei was destroying the entire place without even a hint of remorse for it. But all this had a single objective, the Golden Castle, the center of Asgard and its greatest fortress, so ignoring the secondary prey he focused on the main dish, so he gathered everything he had in him and created a sphere of smaller size and power, scaring the warriors while they looked at what their objective was. And without further ado he launched his attack, which destroyed everything in his path, along with the 6 souls that were in his path. When the attack reached its destination, the entire castle, it was completely devastated in seconds by the attack, under the terrified and astonished gaze of the few present at the scene. Issei, not happy with what he saw as little punishment, began to destroy what little was left intact in the area, but when he was happy with what was destroyed and proceeded to leave, at one point he had to jump, dodging an attack that was going towards his head. Odin. Issei, look what you became, where was that happy boy who protected everyone with a smile and his perversion? He said, looking sadly at Issei's state. Issei just looked at the old man who was in front with his troops on his back pointing at him and proceeded to growl like an angry beast might do. Odin. I apologize for all the pain you suffered due to my actions, but I cannot allow you to continue taking innocent lives, as if it were nothing just because of your desire for revenge. Issei could only make loud grunts and roars, denoting how unhappy he was at that moment. Odin. I see, now you are just a simple beast without reasoning, so I should not feel guilty about what I will do. Soldiers. Attack. To kill. All the soldiers in his rear just raised their weapons and began to blast Issei, which could not avoid it. Even Odin was attacking, creating a dome of smoke due to the explosions of the attacks, covering the area where Issei was. The hard bombing several minutes before everyone present stopped from continuing to attack. The entire area was just pure destruction. No one could see much due to all the smoke and dust that was there. Odin hoped that this would have been enough for him to stop Issei in this moment. When everything began to dissipate, they waited for the brunette's unconscious body to be lying in the crater, but when they could see, everyone was terrified. Issei was not there. Odin. Impossible, where is it? He said, scared. His question was answered when he heard the screams of his soldiers behind him, so he quickly turned around only to see the carnage that Issei was causing with his troops. No one was spared, not even the Valkyries, who were massacred by him without a trace. Leaving from his stupor, he quickly went to help his warriors, but it was of no use. Issei only had fun with them as if they were simple toys for him. In a desperate attempt, Odin tried to stop him with his protection spell that he had previously used to stop the attack of the general of the legion, but it was of no use since Issei crossed him as if he were made of paper, causing all the damage to go to him. Well, he coughed blood because of that, but Issei did not leave things there, but hit him with one of his tails, sending him towards the ruins of a building under the gaze of the few living soldiers. Odin, without being able to do anything else, only witnessed how his troops were decimated by the one who was once his companion. Odin. I see, we never had a chance against Ahaha, he will stop at nothing until he gets what he wants. He said, barely remaining conscious. A few seconds later, Issei had managed to completely eliminate all the Asgardian troops, so he directed his gaze towards the place where Odin was lying at that moment. Both looked at each other, while Issei proceeded to create another sphere to finish him off. Odin had already left. Resigned to his fate, Issei, upon finishing preparing his attack, was about to launch it when a hammer collided with his jaw, diverting the trajectory of the attack which impacted on the outskirts of the territory. The hammer then returned to the hands of its bearer, only for her to suddenly fall in front of Issei, looking at him in a serious and angry manner. Odin. Damn idiot, I told you to get out of here, you are no rival for Thor, escape quickly from here. He shouted, looking worriedly at his son who was not looking at him and just stared at the beast that once was. Issei. Thor. This is my land, father, this is where I was born and raised, this is where all our people lived for centuries, I will not let him take that from us, I am the god of thunder, son of the father of all, champion of Asgard, and not I plan to let all those titles be stained, just because you want me to escape because my enemy is stronger than me. I will fight with all my being without fear of my destiny. Behind him the last Asgardian warriors approached riding their steeds and ships shouting for fight with everything for your home. My brothers, let's fight for our home. By Asgard. All the troops attacked Issei to defend their homeland, while Thor commanded them without any fear. On the ground, Issei was totally furious with those tiny cockroaches that were attacking him, so he stood facing him, putting his tails together, pointing at his snout, and he began to gather all the power inside himself, creating a black sphere that created lightning around him. The soldiers knew that it would be a suicidal attack, but they would not stop their attack against the one who destroyed their home, so regardless of whether they continued forward, commanded by Thor. Whoever smiled at that, Odin knew that attack was not being contained, it was done with the pure intention of eliminating the nuisance. Odin. Dodge son, you will not be able to survive that. He shouted, trying to stop the suicidal attack he was orchestrating against Issei. But everyone turned a deaf ear. Issei, upon finishing gathering all the power he needed, began to compress the sphere to proceed to swallow it under the astonished gaze of those present. His body quickly grew while he emanated that same energy in an erratic manner, cracking the ground at his feet. While he began to release smoke from his snout, Thor understood what he was doing, but he could not stop due to the distance he was from him, so he tried to launch the biggest attack he had to try to receive the impact of his, but before he succeeded. Issei opened his jaws under Odin's horrified gaze. The attack was of such magnitude that it directly completely disintegrated all the Asgardian resistance that there was, it was so great that even the other factions witnessed it, it was such that everything supernatural could see how the attack was lost in the sky, taking with it everything what was in front, that power generated even more fear in their hearts. Minutes after that the rescue team led by the other factions arrived with their warriors to try to help the Asgardians, but again they witnessed all the resentment that Issei had towards them, nothing was left standing in Asgard, there were hardly any bodies to recover. Once again Issei had eradicated another mythology as if nothing had happened and they could not help her. Some rescuers managed to find Odin barely alive in the rubble, so he was quickly taken to the hospital to save him, along with a few people from his land who were saved. For having escaped under the guidance of her queen who mourned the loss of her son and the state of her husband. All the leaders present only saw the destruction that Asgard was now due to Issei's anger, but when they were about to retire to speak, they all heard in the distance a thunderous roar that chilled their blood. They knew it very well, that was the warning that he would soon attack again, and when he did nothing would change the fate that awaited them. Days after the fall of Asgard. Everyone was worried, Issei was marrying them one by one, and not only making them pay with his life, but that of his people as well. No one knew what to do, and two factions fell by his hand, and because of that fear began to act all over the world. No one knew what to do to stop it or save themselves. Michael. The situation is increasingly complicated, two factions are already falling in a matter of minutes for Issei, and no one knows what their next objective will be, all our people are afraid, and we don't know how to calm them down. Ares. This is completely out of our hands, we must all unite together and hunt it down at once, with each day that passes without us acting we are falling, and by the time it is too late, we will barely be able to face it, we are weakening with each faction that falls by its side. Hand. Bajuka. That would only make him finish us off with a single attack, you saw the power with which he eliminated the troops of Asgard, and I can assure you that that was not all his power, if we all met in one place it would only give him more reasons to attack us. Provisional Yokai leader. But if we separate, he will hunt us down one by one, in the end in both options we will be finished. Freya. Also, some of us do not have enough strength to face him, my people cannot oppose him right now, we do not have the necessary warriors. Araquiel. We are worse, those who survived are out of service, we have nothing but civilians in our ranks. Ares. Damn, if we don't face it we will be completely annihilized, at least if we attack all together we will have some chance to win, but if we stay everyone taking care of ourselves we won't be able to do anything. This is a war and I tell you that my strategy is the most optimal if we want to have it tomorrow. Bajuka. We are very weak, we didn't even spend time to heal from the battle against the Chaos Brigade or the Legion, and now we have Issei, whether you want it or not, he is even more dangerous and powerful than Trihiksa, the opportunities are against us, neither we don't even have the numbers to fight back. Baraquiel. And what happened to the other factions, because they do not support or appear in this meeting? Michael. The Shintoists are on Issei's side just like the Aztecs, so they won't be attacked by him, so he has no reason to help us in this, and the Egyptians haven't even responded since that meeting, where he broke away from the alliance. Ares. Damn, every time the opportunity to save us from him is less. Provisional Yokai leader. Then why don't we give him what he wants, he said, drawing everyone's attention. Let's give them the women who hurt him in exchange for our lives, as a sacrifice, so he may not let them live. Michael. Do you hear what you're saying? How do you think I'd give my sister over to be a martyr for others? Yokai leader. This happened all because of your fault, so don't come with that. If in the beginning you had behaved yourself and had not allowed that, right now everything would be in peace. All this happened because of your selfish desire and because of those whores, they deceived him. All the people of the Yokai territory ask for Yusaka and her daughter to sacrifice them to appease his wrath in exchange for their lives. It will not be long before their own people ask for the same, and we do not have enough strength to deal with a revelation by if it happens. Michael. Is that our problem? I don't think anyone present agrees that we do that, plus that does not ensure that he will leave us alone. Tell me I'm right. No one responded since they were seriously considering what the Yokai said. It may be an option to save themselves from the brunette's wrath, or at least most of them. Ares. It's a good option, it may work since they were the ones who hurt him the most. Baraquiel. Do they see what they want to do? They think of delivering each of them to death just to save their ass. Freya. I understand your point, Baraquiel, but think that he may be strong, but in the face of all the survivors of your species, I doubt that you can even stop them. The same thing happens with the others, they may be the strongest of their faction, but in the face of numbers they cannot fight if he does not have enough strength to do so. Michael. Wait, I have a better idea. What if we ask for the help of his wives? Surely they can calm him down, they did it before and surely they can do it now. He said, trying to save his sister. Ajuka. I doubt that Michael will help us, and even that day he attacked us while they were there with us, I doubt that they will make a difference. Ares. Then let's use them as bait, let's bring him towards us using his hatred towards them, and let's ambush him together in a joint attack, and if it works we will save ourselves, but if not, we will only be annihilated without being able to stop him, and if necessary we will use them as a shield while we retreat to try something else. They all looked at each other, hoping this would work since their existence depended on it. House of Issei and his women. Tense was the word to describe the state of everyone in the place. Everyone was very tense about what would happen to Issei from now on. His recent outburst of anger led him to lose all reason and become a creature that slaughtered mercilessly, although they knew that he would not hurt them. They feared that they would not be able to recover him from that darkness that soothes their soul with hatred. They knew that he had the right reasons to eliminate the people who provoked him, but that did not mean that they would lose him from their side, and it did not mean the recent discussion with Lavinia about her idea of redemption with Issei on her part helped a lot. Saying that everyone was angry because of her words would be simple, but none of them were angry at Sikvera's level. She knew it well. She knew how much Issei suffered for that kind of love out of convenience or pity, as Lavinia said. She would not allow him to be hurt again as he was before. That is why she argued with Issei about the harem issue. Although she knew that she would not be the only one, she feared that this would end the same way like the previous one, so she decided to see and judge each of the women who appeared to decide if they were trustworthy. She took the role of leader or matriarch seriously, not because she believed that they could steal her place, but to prevent the person she loved was hurt in the same way that he was. That's why she always argued with those interested and saw if their feelings were sincere. Right now she was in her room looking for any sign of Issei in the world, but the words that Lavinia said were still floating around in her head, which bothered her a lot. Sikvera. Damn, what was that stupid woman thinking when she proposed that to me? Maybe she doesn't think before speaking. Maybe she doesn't realize that she's doing the same thing those sluts did with him. She said, starting to burst into tears. She doesn't know what she's doing. He had to suffer for that type of affection. He wanted to die when I found him, and all because of that stupid fake love that they gave him, and now you come to want to give him back that same crap of false feelings, just because you feel guilty for what he did. You bastard of your sister, he said, crying. At that she released all the pain inside her that she felt. She missed Issei, which was not news after all. She was the first to be by his side because she truly appreciated and loved him, but right now she knew that despite to be eliminating all those who hurt him, he was suffering for it. All that resentment and hatred came from remembering all the moments he suffered. So those flames of fury were fueled by remembering everything that happened, and that distressed her. He just felt he was hurting by doing that, and all to eliminate the people who had hurt him. She was crying silently without realizing that she was not alone. She felt a small paw on her shoulder, so she turned her gaze seeing Kurama who was looking at her with pity. Kurama. Sakvara, I know you are bad for Issei, and believe me, I understand you a little, but remember that you are not alone in this. Issei did not want to see his wife's sad face, so get up and go get his idiot and let's make him come back together as a family. Sakvara. Kurama. Kurama. Remember, you are not alone, it is all of us who are with you in this. He said, turning his gaze towards the door marking, being followed by her seeing the others with her friends in the same state as her, for the most part. We are in this together, so don't be like that. Together we will bring him back, and there you can make him see everything he caused in all of you, and believe me, he will regret it. After all, you are the most important thing in his life. Sakvara. Thank you Kurama and all of you for this. She said, wiping away her tears while putting on a determined face. Now let's concentrate on looking for our man and making him understand that he is not alone in this, and that we will always be with him. Those words earned a loud shout from everyone who began to work on his search, while Kurama began to tell them what he was able to discover from Issei's frantic state. Underworld outskirts of the capital, vacant lands. The remaining factions began to prepare the trap for Issei. Each of the mythologies had brought the women who were part of the bait for him, even those who were interested in him like the Olympians, although they were all in different groups looking at each other as rivals. There were no problems when they told each of them the plan to use them as bait. In fact, they even accepted it, since they believed that it would be a good opportunity for each of their groups to make their move against Issei in front of the others. What was surprising was seeing how they divided among themselves as if they were about to fight, but they couldn't think anymore because they were fulfilling their objective by attracting Issei to the place. They were the Grimoires groups commanded by Rias, the Citri group by Sona, Yasaka along with her allies, the Olympians commanded by Hera, the Angels led by Gabriel, the matriarchs of the clans led by Venelana and others, and finally the dragons along with others. But they joined them in this, but neither group looked at each other for any reason. The leaders were waiting to summon their troops on the spot. When Issei appeared, they would all lock him inside a field of magic and then summon their soldiers on the spot, but in the meantime, they were waiting for his arrival to begin. While waiting, the 7 groups of women were staring at each other. It was obvious that everyone knew the reason for this division, so no one said anything, but one person who did not accept this was upset, so she decided to stand out from the others. Rias. What do you think all of you are doing separately from my ranks? I speak angrily, drawing the attention of the entire place. I know what you are trying to form your groups like this, but remember that I am the main woman of the group. Issei, so if you try to steal that place from me, I will show you what I can do against you, you damn bastards. None of you have the right to steal my place next to Issei. None of you are fit enough for that position, but me. The atmosphere quickly became hostile due to the Redeed's words, but it didn't take long to receive a response from everyone else, which was not very peaceful. Gabriel. You better shut up, you damn demon. You have no vote or decision in our person. Remember that this entire mess is your fault, so you can't reproach us for anything by wanting to fix what you caused with your stupid way of being. Obvious that includes a new leader in his harem, which you have no contribution to it since you caused everything by getting us hooked with that trash for which we changed the only man we love, so we decided that a new leader should be the one he leads us instead of a spoiled and brat like a voice that didn't know how to do it. That's why we decided that I together with my companions will be the main one in his heart and the one who will lead everyone who wants to be with him. She said, speaking loudly while she had a completely icy and cold look, showing that she was not lying in what she said, followed by her group who supported her. Hera. Wait, damn bird, no one agreed that you be the main head in this. We agree that the stupid demonic brat is not fit for the position, but we never said that we supported you taking that place. That position, it should be for the most suitable in leadership, of which I will be along with my daughters, since we lead our people with wisdom and responsibility. Also remember that you were also one of those who betrayed him by being in his harem, while my daughters and I are just people who could not propose to him for you, but now is our time to change that. More seriously, you believe that he accepted you when you were the most important thing for him, but you left it aside. That's why we who were spectators are those who have the most chance of being accepted by him. She said, indignant at the angel's bold words. Scarlet. And who said that you are the most fit for this place? Only the strongest should be the one to lead us all to their side, and it is more than obvious that none of those present apart from us, the dragon goddesses, are the most suitable for that leadership position. So stop saying that you could take command of everyone when you can't even keep yourself like that. She roared furiously, giving her direct proposal to everyone. Isaka. And you think we will accept the rule of your species as if nothing? Fourth-rating dragon. Remember that Issei is no longer part dragon, so your stupid laws no longer work on him, so that strongest thing only falls on his beliefs, since he is no longer part dragon because they took all that away from him next to whales. It's more, as we all saw, he is now joined with a fox, or race is the most indicated one to be his main partner. We both have the same cultures, so I can say that now Issei is more Jokai than dragon or demon, and all thanks to those two reasons. First, you turned him human, and now thanks to that Kurama he is more compatible with me and my daughter, so I win. Also, it is sure that because of that my daughter and I along with the other Yakes can make him attention on us, and all due to the fact that just a few days ago we entered the time of jealousness, so as soon as he see us he will angry for us, and we will show them that he is our male, so they should accept us like the matriarchs if they want us to give them any chance to be with him. She shouted at the dragon goddess, earning several looks of hate because they thought she had that part of her in her favor. The only problem was that Kurama was not a Yakai. His shape is similar, but he was something different, and they did not know it, so Issei was not part Yakai either, but according to Yusaka, he was so the typical way of seducing a Yakai. Fox Yakai wouldn't work well, and he would be sorry when he tried it. This whole fight was watched by the Citri entourage along with the matriarchs in a quiet and serious way, because they previously formed a coexistence pact in secret, so they were waiting for the others to confront each other to take advantage of it in their favor. They used this strategy to ensure the weakening of the others to take advantage of it in her favor, although Venelana was not very convinced because her daughter was not aware of this, but she knew that she would not accept coexistence, so she had to accept this fact and teach her what a true harem leader should do right now. Things with each group became so hostile that even the leaders noticed all the mess that was forming. Some were about to interrupt a possible fight between them, but Ares, being the god of war, said to leave them, since this would serve to attract the brown more quickly, because if they fought their auras would increase, which would be noticed more quickly by him, which would attract him. Michael was reluctant to this because his sister was there. They had both spoken before all this happened, and he ended up informing her everything. Related to the plan, Gabriel took advantage of that and formed a plan so that she could be in front of Issei without the interruption of the others, so he asked her for help so that in a way he would betray the other leaders and benefit her by using the trap they were setting for him. Preparing with some modifications on your part that would favor it. Suddenly everything began to shake, followed by loud footsteps coming in their direction. Everyone became alert since Issei was nearby, but they were confused because they did not feel any magical power or aura that could locate him. Even the sound of his footsteps came from more than one direction, complicating their location. But they knew it was him because of the immense thirst for blood emanating from the surroundings, which was suffocating. The girls were happy to see him again, although it hurt them that all that strong intention of revenge was because of them, but they would try to change that way of seeing them in this opportunity they had. The leaders were very hysterical because they could not locate the brunette, even though they knew he was nearby. They feared that instead of being interested in the girls he would go straight towards them, which would ruin their plan. Suddenly a large dark sphere headed towards them. Where they were, they barely managed to notice it, so they were able to avoid it. The attack managed to spread to several hectares of the area until it hid in the distance. When the leaders tried to see the direction where the attack came from, they did not see Issei. But quickly behind them another smaller scale attack hit where the girls were, which worried them, but when the dust dissipated, they could see how Office and Scarlet were with their wings open, which were releasing smoke, because with them they covered themselves from the attack, although it was obvious that they were very hurt. Those attacks were not just a warning, but they were intended to seriously injure them. He did not want to kill them, or at least not quickly. He wanted to have fun making them suffer without them being able to avoid it. Everyone was very worried because he was just having fun with that, but before they left they heard his roar in the distance, and there they saw him. Issei appeared from among the mountains, being surrounded by complete darkness where only his red eyes and eyes were visible. His long and sharp teeth, everything around him was completely dark. The girls, despite being hurt by him, were happy to see him, although most of them were hurt to see him in that state because of him. The leaders were something else. They were totally scared by the strong evil aura that was constantly emitted, which made the artificial sky of the underworld darken as if it were natural. Everyone was quiet, hoping that nothing bad would happen, but to everyone's bad luck, someone provoked it by wanting to recover it without thinking about the consequences of it. Rias, my Issei, my dear Issei, please forgive me and let me try to be the woman of your life again. I don't care that you are like this now, I just want you to love me again like you did before all this mistake on my part. Even I will accept AO. After as long as I can be by your side again, please. You don't know how much you miss me since you left us, that fateful day where we turned our back on you. I swear I will not do it again as long as you forgive me and accept me again. She said as she shed tears and opened her arms as a sign to accept her again. Everyone knew that right now Issei was not very happy to see them, and it was obvious when he saw how he left them after playing with them because of what he did to them, and now the redeed would only bother him even more than he was, even the others. The girls knew not to say things just to say in front of him, because right now the only thing on his mind was seeing them die at his hands. Then before they could silence her or recriminate her, they all heard Issei's roar, who was even more annoyed as he emanated even more energy around him, which directly froze their blood due to all the hatred that roar transmitted to their souls. Issei only roared a second time to start running in the direction where Rias and the others were to destroy them. Destruction was the only thing in his path as he ran towards them. Even the leaders moved away when they saw him that way. They knew that their objective was now it was them, so he wouldn't notice them unless they provoked him. When he was close, he made a powerful jump in the direction where they were all to try to fall on them, but what he didn't expect was that the leaders were about to activate the trap to enclose him in an energy field while they took the girls out of there with a spell. It would have been like this if it had not been that the field was different, which worried them since it did not fulfill the function it was supposed to do, and they saw how Gabriel smiled while reciting something invoking sacred chains that chained Issei by the neck and his legs, preventing his movement. Even his snout and tails were chained so that he would not attack them, managing to undo all the darkness that hid his true appearance. Everyone was surprised by his demonic appearance, but they quickly tried to enter the field, only to see that none of them could enter in any way. To form. Ares. What the hell happens because our barrier keeps us outside? He shouted as he hit the field. They all watched as Gabriel smiled a crazy smile as he watched them. Gabriel. They seriously believed that I would allow my Issei to be locked inside this barrier facade. What you didn't know is that I, along with my followers, changed the spell so that no one could leave here or enter without our permission, he said, drawing everyone's attention. Bajuka. Because you did that, don't you see that now he's not even sane, he's only looking for destruction, he needs to be contained and neutralized so that we can all live. What is your goal with all this? I shouted as I saw her. Gabriel. Isn't my objective obviously the smartest Satan? I seek to make Issei forgive us without his interruption, although I hope that the others were not there either, but if I wanted them not to notice the change I needed them here, all while you gave me the opportunity to be able to see him and convince him, and if I can't, well, I can stay by his side for all eternity while he's trapped here. Michael. Sister, that was not the plan, you should chain him with that object and escape from there so we can take care of him. I didn't accept this when you asked me for help. Azazel, wait, you helped her in all this, are you not right in the head? Damn effective idiot, how can you think of trusting her in that state? It was obvious she would do something like this. Michael. And what do you want me to do? They wanted to use her as a bait to make it work. I was afraid that it would not work and that Issei would kill her in front of me. Ares only appeared behind him and hit him with all his strength, sending him flying away from there, while cursing him for the stupidity he did. Ares. Damn idiot, you screwed everything up, now they will be in front of him provoking him. What do you think will happen when he can't take it anymore and finally explodes? Everyone summon their troops and try to destroy the barrier before things get worse. This is our only chance to get rid of it while it is contained. In the energy field. They were all happy since they were locked up with their Issei, so they could try to get his forgiveness and get him to agree to return to their side. Rias wanted to get closer to his face to hug him, but Issei just started shaking frantically while looking at her with his injected eyes. Hatred, she continued to approach, causing him to get even more angry, causing the floor to shatter due to the force he exerted, while he made loud grunts of annoyance, which caught the attention of all the others who saw what he was trying. Gabriel quickly cast a spell of attack that took her away from him, causing everyone to look at her for that. Gabriel. Stay still, you damn stupid, almost because of you the entire plan I made to be with him was wasting. Lost. Did you not notice that he doesn't even want you to come to him? Rias. And you think I don't know? I just want to ask you to forgive me, also because no one else knew about this, perhaps you were trying to be the only one who could get her forgiveness. Gabriel, no one is worthy of being with him, you were the cause of all this, so you have no opinion in this, and if only I and those who follow me knew all this, I could not give it to the only one who had it at their side, and they didn't know how to take advantage of it, so I decided with those who follow me, that only we should be the one who leads their heart, and if necessary, decide who enters it and who does not. Isaka, wait, and who gave you the right to decide that? Who do you think you are to take on him? Even when you say all this, remember that you are not a holy, not anymore. You also wallowed with him, remember, with him your brother's son, so don't come saying that anyone besides you and the other bitches that follow you are the only one who deserve to be by their side. Seraphal, true, even though we accepted that you had chained him so that he would listen to us, remember that we all had a part in this when we left him away, even though the one who started all this disgrace was the idiot Rias, so you can't decide that, but who said that what you say would be accepted just like that? Remember that you are not the only one who feels something for him, and if you don't want to accept it then you better be prepared to face each one of us, we won't let you hook it up for you and your people. She said as she began to release her demonic power, freezing the ground at her feet, being imitated by the others who did not agree. They all put themselves on guard, none of them would accept what the others wanted, so if it was necessary to fight for Issei they would do it, but none of them noticed that this was heard and seen by Issei, who, despite being in that state, understood well what he was saying. And it only made him even more angry, starting to grow because of all the hatred he had for every word they said. The chains, despite having enough strength to hold him at the moment, were giving way little by little. They were strong, but every minute the force of the Issei was growing, they couldn't contain it, their limit was close, so Issei would be free when he surpassed it. Issei's house. Living room. Everyone was serious because they were seeing what was happening in the underworld with Issei. The girls, seeing how Issei was chained so they could ask for forgiveness, went into total anger, starting to release their energy. Kurama had previously told all the information he got, but was not completely correct, he knew that this state was not something he knew. Although it resembled what his scroll said, so he had a vague idea of what to do to return him to normal. Basically the idea was to go and rescue him before they intervene like the leaders, to avoid confrontations. But with the recent events they were more than determined to confront them no matter what. Sekvera gave the signal for everyone to be ready to leave. She even had the help of Buddha, and much to her regret from Lavinia who remained silent and without seeing her because of what she previously tried to do in front of them. Everyone was ready to go save him and at the same time show the fuckface what they deserved by chaining their loved one in that way. Imajima House Uzaku room. The aforementioned was watching everything through her magic, but she was horrified by what her sister was doing when she accepted Issei's chain so that they could listen to her, so already tired she decided to take action on the matter. She knew that Akeno wants to get him back, but it was not the way to achieve it. Her mother would be sad to see her, so she was determined to confront her to make her see reason once and for all, even if she hated her for that. While in the astral planet, 5 gigantic figures were watching everything that was happening from the shadows. They knew that they had to intervene to save life on the planet, so when the time was right, they would appear to help calm the brunette who had an important role in the future at his side. Issei saw how all the ex-lovers were fighting to be his partner, that simply caused his blood to begin to boil with resentment. He was completely out of control at this moment, they chained him like a dog, and yet they think that he will forgive them, and even more so when Rias approached him trying to hug him in that state. Perhaps they think that they still have the slightest chance with him. Simply at that moment he finished understanding it, so that he can be happy with his partners and be calm in the world. He had to eliminate all of them along with his disgusting people. He should not leave anyone alive if he wanted to have what he wanted. That's why without anyone noticing he began to exert more strength while his size grew, due to all the hatred and resentment that began to grow inside him. The chains were powerful enough to be able to subdue him, but they could not hold out his resentment much longer. They began to cut themselves due to Issei's growth, all this while he looked at them with his eyes totally angry. He would no longer resist this joke, he would no longer tolerate this crap situation, he would eliminate them completely without thinking about it. He gave them many opportunities to get away from him, but no more, there will be no other opportunity or miracle for them to escape his punishment. He would end all this in the bud. The leaders were trying to force their way into the barrier while their soldiers helped them, but this was done to contain Issei in that state. Even though they didn't know anything, they used the remains of the pendant that Rizavim used in the ceremony to create it by themselves. Which was quite powerful, which wasn't totally sensible right now. Right now Issei was locked inside it with the people he hated the most in the world, and that wasn't a good combination. But everyone stopped trying to get in when they saw as Issei was freeing himself from his bonds, while watching the girls fight among themselves over him. Everyone began to worry and fear about that because if he managed to free himself he would kill them, and if that happened the next ones were them, so they started shouting from outside. Trying to get the girls to see them so they could escape from there. Michael was scared by that, so he was the one who screamed the most trying to alert his sister who was close to Issei. Some soldiers were quite terrified due to the increase in size he was having at that moment, and they knew that if that was because of his hatred, then his power was growing in the same way, which meant that they had fewer and fewer opportunities to defeat him. All of this was being transmitted to the masses of the supernatural, because people wanted to see if they could be saved from his fury, so these images they were totally discouraging. The ex-lovers inside the barrier, without knowing what was happening with Issei, were fighting to see who was the main one, so they began to attack each other, all without knowing what was happening. Their battle was so scandalous due to their screams that they did not hear the others. Shouts from those outside who tried to alert them of the danger that was growing behind them. Gabriel and Rias were fighting each other while being close to Issei, so without them being able to prevent it, what many feared happened while they were watching. Second before. Gabriel. I will show you your disgusting damn slut place under my feet for all the damn disgrace you gave us for your pride. He said, preparing his spear of light. Rias. Try it, I won't let you steal my happiness with the man of my life. He said, preparing the power of destruction in his hand while pointing at it. Both collided head-on with their powers, creating a collision that caught everyone's attention, while the others, seeing the two colliding with each other, noticed what was approaching them from the side, trying to warn them before it happened. Benelana Grafia Asia Akeno. Rias, be careful. They screamed, terrified by what would happen to them. Enemu Arena Griselda Zenobia. Gabriel behind you. They said, scared. Hearing the screams, both of them paid attention, so they turned their gaze to where Issei should be only to scream in fear. A little away from the place, Kurama and Issei's girls appeared, being led by Sakvara at the head, along with Buta and Lavinia in the background. Everyone when they saw the situation became serious, so they tried to head towards the barrier only to stop for so long. What happened suddenly shocked them in a great way. Well, some were shocked by what happened, and Trihixa was smiling because of it. The soldiers and leaders were completely cold when they saw what happened inside the barrier. Well, Michael cried holding on to the barrier, cursing Issei. Venelana was crying when she saw what led to all this mess, and the others were horrified by it. Issei had pierced both of them with his teeth while they screamed in pain and fear. Rias cried, trying to get away from the teeth which went through her entire torso up to her waist, while Gabriel screamed, releasing blood with every scream he gave, because one of the teeth had crossed his right side near the heart, perforating his lung. But it didn't end there, because not content with just that, Issei began to shake them, worsening their wounds while covering everything around him with their blood. Everyone was watching in horror as he decorated the entire place with the screams and blood of both of them, while he had fun doing it. Under the watchful eye of everyone. While torturing the two in this way, he directed his gaze at the others, so he began to attack them with his tails, crushing them or piercing them with them in areas where it would not be fatal, but would cause pain. With his claws he cut them to a large extent, to the point of almost gutting them, all while still having Rias and Gabriel in his jaws. Most of Issei's women watched this in horror, as did Kurama, due to how bloodthirsty it was, but others enjoyed seeing this, even though they didn't want to do it like Trihixa, who enjoyed hearing the screams of all of them, especially the dragons. Sakvara was another who enjoyed this, even though she didn't like it at all, but she knew that they deserved it for everything they did to her partner so far. Even Kateria enjoyed it. Because of that, she had no appreciation for other people who were not important to her and Issei, especially them. The leaders were scared as well as the soldiers, but just at that moment Surziches had appeared because he escaped from the confinement they gave him, after all the trouble he caused, when he saw what Issei was doing to Rias, Venelana and his wife Grafia. He directly went towards the barrier with all his power, trying to destroy it to save the three from him, but since the others could not cross it with their power, so he was left looking at everything that was happening inside. Issei noticed it, so even though he was a beast he gave a smile showing his teeth, while his two ex-lovers were still impaled on them, and under the mortified gaze of Surziches and the others he slammed Venelana and Grafia into the barrier in front of him. Surziches was horrified to see the state of both women. They could barely breathe, but he didn't expect Issei to spit on his sister where they were, leaving the three of them together. He noticed how Issei began to approach after releasing Gabriel next to the others. He began to approach the three women under his gaze. Terrified of Surziches. Surziches. Issei, please stop. He said, starting to fear his intentions as he approached them while smiling with sinister smile. Please, I swear I will stop. I will not let anyone bother you again, but stop, I don't want to lose them, please. He said, releasing tears. Hitting the barrier in front of three. I swear on everything that is important in my life I will stop, but please let them live. Everyone was very scared of what Issei was about to do with the three, but their partners were even more scared because of something Kurama told them what would happen if he killed any of them. Start flashback. Kurama. Listen to me carefully, we must prevent Issei from killing his ex-lovers. For nothing in the world he must do it if you want him to return to you. He said seriously while earning the annoyed looks of everyone, or at least the majority. Sakvara. What do you mean by that, Kurama? Explain yourself. She said, annoyed by what she was saying, just like the others. Kurama. I know it seems like I'm defending those sluts, but I say it for a good reason. Issei right now is hanging on a fine line where he will decide between both sides. If he doesn't kill them, he will do the same thing as always, and he will be at his side again. But if he chooses to take revenge with their deaths, or at least that of one, they will lose him forever, since he will be consumed by darkness, and they will not be able to recover him again. That is why we must prevent him from killing them, since all this is because of them, and if he ends his revenge in that way, he would be giving in to that hatred. He said seriously, scaring everyone because of that. That's why we must stop him before that happens. Bernias. But how will we do that if we can barely approach him in that state? Kurama. We must try. We must make him remember everything he experienced with you until now to save him, only that we can do to get him back, and our only way to do it is for you to avoid and face him. Then flashback. They all ran towards the barrier to stop him, but before they could reach him the soldiers stopped them a few meters away. Hysterical about losing him, they began to attack the soldiers without restraint, drawing the attention of the leaders who saw their presence and were about to intervene until Michael attacked them, sending them away from there by force, giving them space to advance towards Issei. Michael, please stop him. I know you don't care about my sister or the others, but I know if he kills them you will lose him, so go and stop him while I hold the others and the troops from cutting his path. When they saw him get up, they thought he would stop them, but when he separated the others, he surprised them, but when he told them his reasons, some of them were about to separate him, until he offered to keep the others from their objective, so they accepted it and headed towards where Issei was. But then everyone heard a cry of despair that stopped them. Surziches. No, damn it, because you did it. He screamed, crying while hitting the barrier with everything, making his knuckle bleed because of it. The girls, seeing the reason for his scream, looked towards Issei only to cover their mouths and get scared. Issei had pierced a 3 with his tails as he raised them in front of Surziches, watching him with satisfaction, but he decided that they deserved even more pain, so he simply threw them into the air to begin charging a sphere of power and threw it at the dying. Their bodies, leaving them completely burned under the eyes of everyone. Issei roared when he saw the state of the 3 bodies. Suddenly he heard the screams of terror from the other ex-harem behind him, so he turned around, seeing everyone terrified by what Issei did with his companions. Seeing them in that state, he felt extremely happy, so he decided to finish what he started. He headed towards them, who were completely scared when they saw him going in their direction, and without warning he began to massacre them all without hesitation. He crushed Asia and Lefei on the floor, destroying their ribsage, leaving them to choke to death from his blood. Irina and Penemu cut their throats alive with his claws when they tried to get away from him. He impaled Zenobia and Griselda with rubble that was where he was previously chained, which created them by cracking the ground due to the force he exerted, with Yusaka, Kunu, Hineko and Kuroka. It was bloodier since they tried to seduce him, thinking that he was in heat and doing that would save them, but they only ended up being riddled by their tails, where each impact crossed them in many ways, barely being able to be recognized. With the matriarchs it was very different, since he had fun incinerating them. Until he left them completely charred. With the Citri sisters and their entourage, he had fun dismembering them one by one. With the Olympian goddesses he tore off their lower half, while destroying them in his jaws, and all because Aphrodite tried to do the same as the Yakase with the dragon goddesses. Tiamat and Mio put even more effort into their suffering as they tried to defend themselves by entering their dragon form, but it was of no use since that way they managed to let Issei have fun hurting them even more. He had torn off their wings while with his own tails, had stabbed them without holding back until they were completely massacred without life. With Valerie, Rossweiss, Omenhold and Ingrivold it was calmer because he only attacked them with his characteristic attack, making them explode countless times while they screamed and cried. But while he entertained themselves with them, a small fissure appeared in front of Valerie and Ravel, from which a small hand emerged that held them and took them into the gap, saving them from that fate, so only Akeno was left. Who was completely terrified to the point that she could not move from her place, while she looked at the massacre that Issei was doing with the others. Akeno. He no longer cares about our lives. He doesn't think about forgiving us. He is killing us all without stopping. He is no longer the man who loved us. He only seeks revenge for everything we did to him, she said, starting to cry when she saw how he focused on her. Issei, please stop. You don't see what you're doing to us. We just wanted to be by your side again. We wanted to feel that affection again that you gave us before. We betrayed you, but you just destroyed us every moment we tried to talk to you. Please stop. We can still get back what we once had. You just have to accept our mistake, and everything will go back to how it was before, and this time nothing will change that, he swore. She saw how Issei stopped growling and calmly approached her. Issei had forgiven them and was approaching her to allow her to touch him under the gaze of everyone. Akeno, seeing him calmly, got up and began to approach him to hug him, and when she was close enough to him, Issei closed his eyes as he lowered his head for her to hug or touch him. Akeno. Issei knew that you would forgive us sooner or later. I knew that you still loved us inside you. We will both try to fix all the time we were away from each other, and we will form a family as it should have been from the beginning. Seeing this, Sakvara and the others were about to burst into tears when they saw that Issei changed them for that slut, but Kurama was very worried about the brunette's true intentions. But before anything else happened, everyone saw how Issei, before she touched him, opened his eyes and proceeded to catch her in his jaws, only to repeatedly stamp her on the ground while she asked him to let her go and forgive her, but that only made him angry, so he began to spin her around in his mouth, being held by one of her legs, which was torn by the force of the spin, causing her to crash into the barrier in front of Baraquiel, who was totally devastated when he saw his daughter completely destroyed after having crashed into the barrier. With that strength, he saw Akeno's lifeless look, so his whole world fell apart. Sekvera and the others, despite the situation, were happy and calm to see that he was only playing with her and did not change them, but when they remembered the situation again, they were terrified because Issei had fallen to hatred by killing them in that way. Right now everyone present was witnessing the most terrifying thing they could see in their lives, and of course after Issei murdered each of the former present inside the barrier, he remained completely immobile in his place. When he had finished take care of the last one being Akeno, he had let out the biggest roar he had given so far. So all the people who were outside the barrier, like those who were watching everything that happened, had to cover their ears to resist it, and it didn't help that the magnitude of waves that he released made their bodies collapse. Everyone saw him, while he continued roaring at that magnitude, as if nothing had happened until suddenly everything was silent. Everyone turned their gaze to where he was, seeing that he remained in the position of roaring. Completely static. At first this confused everyone, so he did not emit any sound or movement, so they thought he was knocked out and would return to being human. Kurama, who saw this, was confused because the scrolls said that after if he carried out his revenge, he would lose all traces of his being and would become a creature without any reason whatsoever. So when he saw that Sekvera and the others were still watching him, he began to approach the barrier, being followed by them, who came to their senses, seeing him go towards Issei. The leaders were seeing this, but something inside them prevented them from going towards them. Something in their being told them that nothing good would happen in those moments. The same thing felt all the spectators of the supernatural. Their hunches told them that this had not yet ended like this. Easily, the only ones who did not feel this were Kurama and the others who were an important part for Issei. Surziches was still kneeling in front of the lifeless bodies of his family that were behind the barrier. He only watched them while resting his hands on it. Without being able to touch them, Michael was collapsed, looking directly at the sky without emitting anything. Apparently he had been in total shock when he saw what happened to his sister. Barakwila only saw the remains of his daughter's body. While he shed tears because of it, Kurama only continued advancing like the others between them without them saying anything. Kurama. Girls, I will proceed to try to open the barrier, since now when Gabriel dies the spell will begin to crumble, so you can now enter. So we will go for Issei and return to our home to see what happens to him, okay? They all nodded, following them, although it seemed strange that no one was stopping them, but they didn't know that their bodies couldn't move because of something that was happening, and they didn't notice it. Kurama was in front of the barrier, so he would try to enter, but when he passed one of his legs his whole body curled up, making him retreat, surprising the girls who saw how he began to sweat profusely while he raised all his tails and saw the barrier already. Issei with fear. Buddha. Hey my furry friend, what's wrong with you? He said, approaching him, who kept looking at Issei with fear, so he tried to put a hand on his back, noticing how upset he was, so with his other hand, he tried to pass the barrier, only for him to suddenly feel like if he were decapitated and dismembered, taking her away from the barrier while she sighed and sweated like never before, disturbing everyone even more. Aisha. Hey, what's happening to you? Kurama. Everyone get away from here now, this is not over yet. He shouted while he grabbed everyone with his tails, including Buddha, while he jumped, taking them away from there because of what would happen. Smith. What's wrong Kurama? Because you took us away, we must go for Issei. He shouted, trying to get away. Buddha. Listen, I'm not over yet, Issei is still furious, this is not over. He said, scaring them. Suddenly the entire interior of the barrier began to darken in a terrifying way, while a dark fog began to emerge from Issei's body, which was the reason why the entire interior darkened, and without anyone being able to comment or do anything, they heard it again. The roar, which this time was more demonic, disturbing everyone. The barrier could no longer resist, so it began to crumble, scaring those present even more when suddenly the demonic scream was heard from the darkness again, but this time, like the previous one, a huge red orb was shown which was watching them. All the darkness suddenly began to expand to the sky, being followed by that red orb until it reached a certain height where it could see the entire place. Kurama, fearing what could happen, continued to walk away while carrying everyone on its back when that orb, the increase in size, appeared, and he took Sekvera and the others up, starting to move away from the place, receiving the screams of everyone who asked him to explain what was happening. But suddenly everyone heard screams of agony and pain behind him. What they saw, it was not something that this world was adapted to, seeing a gigantic hand pass over the troops of the factions, which was anticipated by the leaders who, upon seeing it, escaped from there, as well as some soldiers. Surziches, Barakwil and Michael were saved by the others who were towards them before the hand passed in the place. All the soldiers that remained under it died because their shadows devoured them, leaving only the dry corpses that released a black trail, which went towards the main body of that giant hand, Sekvera. He only looked up to see that the giant orb was a red eye that was watching all the soldiers while devouring their souls with the passing of his hand. Kurama stopped when he was at a safe distance. When everyone went down, they saw that gigantic being that was devouring all the people around him. The supernatural was watching this with terror. This was not just anything, it was not a beast or creature, it was a divine being that was destroying the soldiers, as if they were simple dust. Even Hades, who saw everything from his confinement, knew that this being was totally powerful. He had control over the souls that he could only imagine in his wildest dreams. He could rip out the souls of his enemies, but not in this way, and even more so in that amount, just with a simple movement. But all of them saw how the being suddenly expelled a strong wave of energy that created a huge red wing over it, as if it were some being of divine origin. Sakvara. Kurama, what the hell happens, because Issei transformed into that, she said, scared while praying that all this was a bad dream. All the girls were the same when they saw what Issei had transformed into, but suddenly they all heard how that being began to murmur something. It was like an understandable whisper, so they turned their gaze towards him. The world witnessed how the hand that was previously sucking the life out of his troops was now channeling all that into a black and red sphere. When it seemed that he had finished making it, the being raised his hand towards the sky and, to the fear of everyone, threw it. The sphere, being very above it, exploded, dividing into several smaller attacks that went in different directions. Everyone feared the targets of these attacks, but before they could do anything, it began to descend on each city, territory and mythology of the world. The spheres impacted all the supernatural settlements of the beings that had something to do with the betrayal of Issei. Each the lives that were in them were reduced to ashes. There were barely any people who were able to escape the attacks. The leaders were horrified to see such a massacre. The majority of their people were killed, as if nothing had happened at the hands of that gigantic being. The cities were just ruins submerged in a sea of dark flames that devoured everything in their path. No vestige of the citizens who lived there was saved. Houses, territories and even homes were reduced by the attacks. From his shadows countless figures emerged, dark specters that would make the soul collectors of Hades look ridiculous. The leaders who walked away before were now a few meters away, watching all the death and destruction that Issei caused. Ares took the lead and called all the available soldiers, being imitated by the others. Each of the gods even appeared. Hades, who was locked up, was called. In a few minutes an entire army of most of the supernatural was in front of Issei ready to stop him. The troops exceeded the number of those that had previously existed when they faced the Trihiksa. Even now each of them were ready to charge into battle. We could count all of Olympus, each of its gods and soldiers, the fallen, angelic, demonic, Yakai and Asgardian factions with a little military force that they still possessed, led by Cerziches, Michael and Azazel, who they looked at Issei with hatred for what he did. Issei, he only turned to see the strength of his enemies, only to raise his hand in front, and several more dark specters fell from it, reinforcing those on the ground that surrounded him. Above his bloody halo, the sky began to crumble as if reality itself did not could contain it. But what terrified the majority of the alliance was seeing how creatures with the previous appearance of Issei that he had began to fall from that gap in reality, and that almost equaled the power he had at the time. Cerziches shouted to charge towards him, being imitated by the other leaders as they advanced to the front, followed by the soldiers who shouted and launched their attacks in front. Issei, he only pointed his hand at them and let out a totally demonic roar so that all of his troops would advance towards them, eager to devour their disgusting souls while they feasted on their bodies. Kurama and the others just watched this helplessly. They watched as their partner friend charged towards the front, ready to eliminate everyone he hated. Sakvara just collapsed on the ground crying uncontrollably, being imitated by the majority as they shouted Issei's name. Kurama could only watch all this without knowing what to do. The battle was bloody and a total massacre on the part of Issei to them. The supernatural had no chance against him. His ghosts were very powerful, and the creatures were even more. Issei with his advance forward began to devour everything. Even the earth itself died. Tannen, seeing this, charged towards him trying to at least stop his advance. So he increased his height just for that, but it was of no use since Issei was bigger. Many dragons accompanied Tannen in the attempt only for them to be completely drained of their blood. All trace of life due to the simple presence of him. Tannen, being stronger than them, could still maintain himself, but not for much. But he did not count on Issei summoning another of the creatures to bite Tannen's neck, moving him out of his way while he was torn apart part by part. Azazel, upon seeing Tannen's mutilated body, took flight and with all his power began to attack Issei in his face, creating a smokescreen by force. Believing that he had hurt him, he even stopped attacking, but the curtain, only a strong black energy attack came out that destroyed the right half of his body, sending him away from there. Cerziches and Michael, being the most affected, headed with their maximum power towards Issei. Cerziches activated his armor of destruction, releasing everything from himself, while Michael invoked his father's old armor that he recovered from his death. As they flew towards the Issei, he only moved his hand, creating a wave of wind strong enough to send him flying along with a part of his army. Ares, seeing this at the same time, that Hades and the other Olympians grew to their titanic size, only to face him on equal conditions. Unfortunately, they were only simple flies for him. Just like the others with simple attacks, he sent them flying from their path. Seeing how Issei's new form seemed pleased by the carnage he caused, Sakvara only remembered the warm look he gave her, all his promises, all the I love yous they dedicated to each other, and the moment when they both came together. He didn't want all of that. Disappear from her life. She could be a little greedy, but her nature is like that, so under the gaze of others, she spread her wings and flew with her maximum power. The others were scared, so they tried to make her return since she wasn't listening. Since I only remembered all the moments I spent with him and I didn't want to lose them. Sakvara. Issei, stop please, I don't want to lose you from my side. Remember that you promised me to form a family by my side, and that we will both be together for eternity. I want you to return to us back. He said, crying as he approached and stood in front of us. To him on the ground, drawing his attention, who raised his hand to the sky. Remember all our promises, remember all the moments together that we created. Do you want to leave everything side for this stupid revenge? You've already finished them. Please stop all this and come back to our side. Let's form the family we wanted so much. Come back, Issei. Issei only lowered his hand towards her direction to eliminate the annoyance. Kurama and the others saw this in terror, while Sakvara only closed her eyes wishing for Issei to return. The supernatural saw this with a serious look, but everything was silent when the impact hand raised dust from the place. Everyone was shocked to see who killed Issei, but when the dust dissipated, they saw how a rock hand was holding from the ground Issei's hand on top of a surprised Sakvara. Kurama. That hand. It can't be. Sakvara. Vulcan. He said, happy to see him. Vulcan only completely came out of the crack in the ground to throw a blow with his other hand at Issei's face, sending him flying towards the mountains. When he managed to get out completely, he let out a roar while at his side, 3 more figures of his size appeared who launched the same roar, while another figure stood over the gap in reality, closing it with his forces. Kurama and the others were happy to see that Vulcan saved Sakvara from that attack, but surprisingly, they did not wait for the other guardians to appear in the place. The few survivors in the supernatural were the same because they recognized one of them from one of the previous battles that Issei had next to him. Vulcan lowered his hand and gently grabbed Sakvara as he left her behind him so that she would not be involved in the next fight he would have with Issei, but before he turned around, a huge piece of mountain collided with him, causing him to collapse into the ground. Drowned for this reason, everyone turned their gaze towards Issei, who was the one who threw that piece, who without further ado roared, denoting how upset he was by the previous attack on his person, starting to head towards them in a frantic manner, destroying everything in his path. The other 3 figures only began to run to stop him as Vulcan rose from the ground. When the 3 remaining giants collided in an attempt to stop him, when they hit Issei, they barely stopped him due to the enormous strength that Issei possessed. The hatred he had in him, the 3 giants were easily being moved by the force he exerted. Kurama saw all this, scared because the beings who were the guardians of the circle of life of this world could not stop Issei's advance. He did not know what he could do to help, but suddenly he heard a voice in his mind. 9 tails. Kyuubi, you must prepare for what is coming. Kurama Pav. Who are you? That doesn't matter now, listen carefully, the others will stop the being of darkness while I seal the crack in reality that it caused with its awakening. Kurama Pav. Wait, are you the elemental that is in the crack trying to seal it? We don't have time, you must prepare, they will create an opportunity for them to return him to normal, so we need you to have his partners go to his head when that happens. Kurama Pav. But they won't be able to get close, even if they stop it. Its presence drains the life of everything that is in contact with it, except for you. Making them go towards it would only kill them. He will not do it, they are very important to him, so even in that state he will not harm them no matter how hard he tries. Only they can stop him and make him return. We need them to help him, so that he can fulfill his duty. Kurama Pav. Wait, what duty are you talking about? What do you know about him? There is no time, make them stop it or not have a chance to live later. The fate of the planet is in their hands. Kurama Pav. Hey, I need answers. Out of their mental immersion, the girls approached Kurama, who was returning from his talk, only to see them at his side, while the Vulcan finally got up and started to go help the others suppress the brunette. Pateria. Kurama, what happened? You didn't respond to us when we yelled at you. Kurama. Listen to me, there is a chance to stop Issei and return him to normal. Drahiksa. Then tell us once and for all to finish all this. Kurama. We must go with Sakvara, she is essential like all of you, only you can save him. Come on, we have no time to waste. When the guardians give us the opportunity, we must be prepared for it. Kurama began to run, followed by the others, towards where Sakvara was, seeing how those beings were trying to hold back his beloved. While the Guardians' elementals were trying to suppress Issei, who was struggling to get rid of them and kill the rest of the beings of the underworld, Vulcan appeared next to the others only to stomp the place hard, creating seismic slingshots that managed to destabilize Issei, while stone spikes began to cover his legs in the second after completely stopping his walk. The other guardians did the same, starting to launch different types of attacks with the same function. One buried his hands while directing a stream of flames towards the feet, joining with Vulcan's containment attack, reinforcing which extended to Issei's abdomen. Another pointed his hands towards Issei's torso, through which a powerful torrent of water came out that enveloped him while they froze on Issei's torso. Him, and the last one who was rubbing alone, generated several hurricanes from which they came out. They held both arms, preventing any movement or attack towards him or the others. Practically Issei was contained by the 4 elementals effectively, but even so they could not maintain themselves. Much because every moment Issei was increasing his strength because resentment and anger gave him more strength, so he could immediately free himself from his bonds. Kurama upon seeing this knew that this was the sign, so he acted immediately, starting to expand his size until he reached half that of the guardians. All the girls climbed on top of him to start running towards Issei, knowing what they had to do. When they were in front of Issei's motionless body, Kurama joined his tails to create a platform where the girls climbed to be in front of Issei's head, who was trying to free himself from his restraints. All this was happening while the supernatural was observing what was happening. Some planned to attack as soon as they had the chance, objectively being the people who lost their loved ones like Surziches or Michael, but knew that they had to wait for them to return to normal, to have opportunity to eliminate it. Issei was currently looking in front of his red eye at the girls who were serious as they approached him. Succumb. Issei, I know that you are listening to me from the depth of that darkness. We need you to come back to our side. Do you remember the promise you made me when we both met? You swore to return to my side even if you had to go to the end to do it, and no, only I hope that all of us want to have you back. Each of us swears to love you and be with you in any situation, so that promise should also be with them. She said while the others said the same, swearing their love for him or even telling him how much they missed him. Inside Issei in the darkness you could see several thick chains holding a person who, upon hearing the words of Succumb and the others, opened his eyes, looking up, and began to get up with difficulty while growling with rage for having worried them in that way. That person was Issei, who was chained in his mind by the chains of hatred and resentments he had for the supernatural world, so with all his being, he began to free himself to come to light and return to his family. Outside, the giant figure of Issei began to writhe, alerting the elementals and Kurama, because he was beginning to free himself, wanting to escape from there as he was losing control of his body, so the elementals released all their power to keep him in place as much as they could. While the girls who noticed it began to scream louder since it seemed that Issei heard them. Seeing this, Issei's head let out a loud roar that began to destroy the surroundings due to the devastating force with which he threw it, causing the guardians to lose concentration for a second. Freeing up a little to direct one of their free hands towards the head, trying to eliminate the girls, which was noticed by Kurama, who with one of his free tails, held his hand in front of him, preventing him from attacking them. But even so the head began to roar louder, which caused the force of the sound to the girls could not continue with their call to Issei. Kurama upon seeing this only wrapped another of his tails around the giant Issei's mouth, preventing him from continuing with that sonic attack, although he had to endure the bite he gave him when trying to free himself from him. Kurama. Girls, I don't think we can hold it for long, he said, enduring the pain of the bite on his tail. The girls began to call him again, which began to cause Issei to try to flee with more force, managing to free his other hand, which worried Kurama since he would not be able to stop her, but a lasso of light from the sky managed to hold her before she headed towards Succumb and the others. Kurama turned his gaze towards the origin, seeing the remaining guardian who was sealing the crack of reality holding the arm with a lasso of light that he created. Inside his mind, Issei continued trying to free himself from his bonds, while he saw in front of him the images and memories that he created with Succumb and the others, but the last chains were too hard to achieve, so even if he did not give up, he was having a hard time freeing himself. Which made him frustrated because he wanted to return to them. Issei. Damn it, because the hell I can't be happy, because something always happens to make my happiness fail, because I only want to live my life with the women I love. He said as he continued to exert strength to free himself from his bonds, but he couldn't free himself of the last chains that were preventing them from seeing their women. Issei. Why? Why this happens to me, he said, crying because he couldn't escape from his own resentment. It's simple, Issei, you just have to forget all that resentment and hatred to be able to free yourself. Issei. Who are you? Why are you here in my damn mind? You're still very immature, Issei. Issei. Who are you? A shadow with the figure of a man came out of the darkness as he headed towards him, sitting on the ground in front of Issei while behind him were his sad memories of his betrayal. I guess I should tell you after all, I don't think you know me, my great-grandson, said the shadow, leaving Issei stunned by that. Issei. What? Shadow. How did you hear, Issei? I am like your great-grandfather, although they would be more or less the great-grandfather of 15 generations before yours. Issei. Wait, then if you are my predecessor, how come you are here? Shadow. Let's say that our family is not normal, we are human beings although not from this place, although I should say that since the 7th generation my descendants are human. Issei. Wait, then what are you or were you? Shadow. You are not ready to know it yet, you will discover it later. Issei. The essence of my blood runs through your veins, that is why you always saw yourself involved in the supernatural due to my non-human condition. Issei. Then how come since the 7th generation we became human? Shadow. Let's say that our way of being was diluted by forming offspring with the humans of this world, so it is not new that our essence was losing its origin over time. Issei. Wait, what about this world? Are we some kind of supernatural being or something like aliens? Shadow. It is more complicated than that, Issei, but it is not the time for you to know, not yet. Now you must return to your loved ones and fix the situation. Suddenly he stops and with his hands begins to attack, creating a bluish trail with the sound of blows which destroyed the chains that held Issei, surprising him with those movements that he knew. Issei. Those movements are not. Shadow. If Issei are the ones you saw and copied from your dreams, they are one of the inheritances that runs through our blood, the others you must discover for yourself. Now you must return to your family. Issei. Wait, why can't I see your appearance and I only see a shadow? Shadow. Let's say I can't reveal myself yet, in due course you will see my appearance when you remember all the legacy of our family that I left behind. Issei. So. Will I see you again in the future? Shadow. Yes, I will be waiting for you when you are ready, Issei, but remember, this dark power is not normal, it has to do with what the future will hold for you, it is part of us, so you must learn to control it wisely so as not to get lost again as before. Train well, Issei, and save this world that gave me so much at the time. Live happily with the people who love you and make sure you don't worry them like I did with mine. Issei. Save the world. Shadow. You'll already know. Issei. To be my great-great-grandfather, you leave many things unspecified. Shadow. He simply headed back into the darkness, disappearing as Issei headed towards a light from which came the voices of Sakura and the others calling him. Outside everything remained the same, although suddenly Issei stopped resisting, which made everyone happy, while the entire being that transformed began to disappear in dark particles, showing Issei who was lying on the ground unconscious, which caused the girls to go towards him, hugging him, which caused him to begin to wake up while Kurama returned to his normal size, and the guardians surrounded them while creating a kind of barrier to prevent them from disturbing them. Sakura. Issei, don't scare us again, so you understand, she said, hugging him tightly while the others did the same, burying Issei with their bodies. Issei. So if you don't want to lose me again, please let me breathe. They all moved away from him, letting him sit down. Issei. Thank you for saving me, girls, and I'm sorry for worrying you like that. At that point he receives a blow from Kurama which causes him to sink his head into the ground to everyone's surprise. Kurama. Stop giving us those scare and problems, did we not warn you about this when it happened the first time, Corkhead? Issei only raised his head to jump on top of Kurama, the two of them starting to fight, which brought out a vein in the heads of all the girls who began to release their auras due to this, alerting Issei and Kurama. Brunhild. I see that you still want to continue fighting after everything you put us through, Issei, he said, cracking his knuckles. Alicia. I guess we should teach him to treat the heart of a woman hurt by his stupidities, no girls, he said, smiling in a chilling way. Aisha. And also the stupid furry friend who keeps getting in the way of our practice with him, you don't believe it. That alone scared the two of them, so they hugged each other, although Sakura appeared behind them, who was very upset by both of them because of what she caused and how she didn't learn. Sakura. Issei, honey, we have to talk. If that sentence alone was enough for Issei's entire world to shudder with pure terror. After Issei and Kurama had paid for their stupid fight at the hands of the girls, they were all sitting in a circle while being surrounded by the Guardians elementals, who were protecting them from the unwanted guests who were waiting for the moment to approach. Issei. I'm sorry, girls, I was an idiot to let myself be carried away by my grudge against them in that fight, but I couldn't resist wanting to take revenge on those who caused my misfortune. When I saw them in front of me again, I knew that they weren't real, but in reality that moment my mind was clouded by everything that was happening there. I seriously feel stupid for letting myself be fooled like that, he said while lowering his head. Just then he feels someone hugging him while resting his head on his chest and rubbing his head. Sakura. Issei, please raise your head, even if you worried us, at that moment you were trying to save those girls, in addition to trying to return to our side, that must have made you not think clearly, but please promise us that from now on you will handle everything future problems with a calm and cool head with us at your side. Issei looked over his shoulders at the tender look that Sakura was giving him and turned his head, seeing the expectant look of all the others waiting for his words, so he just sighed and proceeded to get up, giving Sakura his hand to help her and hugged her while he looked at the others, telling them to approach him in a family hug, which soon approached him and joined them. Issei. From now on I swear that everything that happens from now on, we will face it together as a family girls. I will no longer act alone anymore, so let me ask for your help from now on not as my women, but as my wives. He said while he separated from the men knelt in front of them all, while Kurama approached him with a medium-sized box that he summoned earlier while they hugged each other. Issei grabbed the box and opened it showing different wedding rings. Each one with different crystals with their characteristic colors as well as others that were still colorless, indicating that there was no specific magic from its owner, even because she could not ask them previously. Pteria. Issei. You're seriously proposing to us? She said, sobbing with joy while covering her mouth trying not to burst into tears like the others, except for Trihiksa who remained serious, pretending to be tough in the face of surprise. Issei. I know that in the supernatural the way of committing and demonstrating it varies a lot, but I still wanted to do it in the way I know due to my nature, although later I will propose to each one according to their culture so don't worry, besides I still have some rings without an owner here, but seeing that you know who the others belong to. I decided to make some more to make sure or in case one of you loses them or destroys them by accident. Ruby. Because I feel like that was dedicated to me especially Issei Baka. She said with an angry pout, although her runny nose and tears of happiness mostly overshadowed her. Everyone laughed at that, but Issei suddenly looked at a person that she recognized among them due to his aura and strength, so when she saw him looking at her, she walked towards him under everyone's gaze. Issei. Trihiksa, I'm surprised to see you again, I didn't expect you to show up and even help my wives before. He said as he saw her in front of him, although when she wanted to speak he stepped forward. Don't worry, I can tell that you didn't. You have bad intentions towards me or them, but I don't know if I can accept you as my wife. Everyone tensed up at the words he said, while Trihiksa herself froze in front of him due to shock. I know that you are surely interested in me. By that law of the dragons, but to be honest, I don't have good memories of that stupid form of affection between you, plus the only time we saw each other was when we fought to stop you. Apart from that moment, I don't have any more knowledge of your way of being or of your feelings. Trihiksa was stunned by his words, and although she understood the reasoning behind that, it did not change the fact that it hurt her a lot that he did not accept her, so under everyone's gaze, she showed for the first time the look of helplessness. At something and although I was about to start crying Issei continued speaking. But, seeing the others who gave you the approval and who accepted you, I can accept you for the moment to see your true resolution and your feelings for me. Show me that the person with the one who fought and the girl now are different, and I swear that when I am at the altar with them, I will call you myself and tell everyone that you are one of my wives, so make an effort to make me see your true feelings towards my Trixie, and I swear to reward that effort with my love during eternity. He said smiling while he gave her a grey ring that turned into a dark violet one, and without warning, he attracted her towards it and kissed her, surprising her for that, and making the others smile as they looked at their rings. In his hand that were overflowing with his and Issei's auras. Trihiksa. I swear that I will make you love me like a woman Issei, from now on I stop being the beast of the apocalypse, and I become one of the women who seeks your love and is warm like the others. I will show you my resolve for you, even if I have to abandon everything I represent for it, she said, shedding tears of happiness seeing him. Away from the men Issei were Kurama, Buddha, Ren and John watching everything with a smile. Kurama. That bastard really knows how to do surprising things when he sets his mind to it. Buddha. I was surprised when he rejected Trihiksa but I didn't expect what followed next. He has the guts to slap her in the face and then give her a kiss telling her to win him as her partner without that stupid dragon strength rule. Ren. I almost thought that being next to John affected his mind, but I see that he had a good plan to accept her. I was scared at the thought of having someone else like him in the group. He said pointing to John who was speechless due to the surprise that he had. Issei said as he proposed to all the girls in front of them so he didn't listen to Ren. Kurama. I think he still hasn't gotten over the shock. Issei suddenly put each corresponding ring on the finger of each of the girls, no, of his wives, while kissing them, although Sakvara after her turn being the second, since she let Trihiksa go ahead this time, looked to the side. Spotting Lavinia who was sad watching her moment with Issei while only squeezing his hand so under the gaze of the others and Issei he approached her, drawing her attention, remaining in front of her, while he gave her a hard look and Lavinia only lowered her head, waiting for your cold words again. Sakvara. Lavinia, I hope that during the time you understood the reason for what I told you before about your idea of approaching Issei out of pity, she said while the crouched Lavinia shed tears. Issei only saw this wanting to stop her, but he knew that Sakvara he had his reasons for that, so he only stayed a few steps away from them listening to the talk. You understand the reason for my actions against you that day, right, he said, receiving a nod from them. Then you know the reason why I am in front of you again, right? I hope this time you have a valid reason to accept yourself as a sister in Issei's heart or else I will separate you from his life. She said earning a look from Lavinia who looked her in the eyes. Like this, if you want to be with him, tell me the reason why he accepts you at our side. If you can't do it, I want you to please withdraw from our lives. I won't let your confused feelings act for you like the stupid Gremory and the girls did. Others, so tell me your true resolve now before I refuse you to be one of his wives with us like Trihixa did by vowing to abandon everything to achieve it. Lavinia. Sakvara, I swear that I will do everything in my power. No, even if I can't, I will try, even if it is difficult or seems impossible. Just so that you can see that I really want to be with Issei. I will not let the shame that Valeria caused me by doing that clouds me again. This time I want to be with him for my own feelings and not out of guilt. I want to be part of his life, not as an apology, but as one of you. He said, looking at her from the front while he wiped away his tears, and I saw her determined. Sakvara just stared at her, analyzing her expressions, only for her to nod a while later and move away, seeing Issei, who approached and gave an opaque ring to Lavinia, which turned into a light blue color. Issei. I hope you show me your feelings, Lavinia. You were always happy, and although I like you, I will never get to know you more deeply, so let's make sure we know each other and be able to move towards a feeling of pure love like the others. I want to love you equally, so as I told Trihixa, show me your resolve towards me, and I swear to give you what you want from me, my affection and love. He said, giving her a tender and sincere look which cured the discomfort he felt in his heart. Everyone could only rejoice at what was happening at that moment. At last they were all together as a united family, although they all turned their heads when they heard a creak behind them, seeing Vulcan, who turned to look at them as he began to decrease in size to one identical to his own. Making Issei remember his intervention to stop him, so he went towards him to chat. Issei. Vulcan, thank you for helping me again. Without you I would have possibly done something stupid that I would regret for the rest of my life by trying to harm Sakvara. He said while bowing his head in front of him, although he received no response, so he looked up. Watching as the other giants stared at him while they began to lose their size like the Vulcan and positioned themselves next to him in front of everyone, looking at Issei specifically. Vulcan. Issei Silver, heir of darkness, grandson of the first elemental of darkness and successor of his power. We need your help to protect this universe from its destruction, said the five beings, drawing everyone's attention with their words. Issei. Wait. Silver, why they call me that, even though I don't like my last name, I'm a Haidu. He said, confused by his words. Your true origin, your lineage lost in time, belongs to a line of beings very different from those of this world, just like ours, said the being of water. Your blood was losing its characteristics due to the transition to this world and its mixing of blood with that of humans. The wind being spoke. Due to your introduction to the supernatural and everything related to it, that ancient lineage awakened, even more so when facing enemies who have auras from that world like your ancestor, said the fire giant. But now that your true lineage has begun to awaken, you need to prepare yourself for what is coming. His former enemies will come for you, as you are his only offspring to awaken part of his powers. They will come to force you to end his old work and enslave all this dimension under his orders. You must prepare for when that happens, descendant of Silver Fang. Vulcan. You must prepare for them and take your rightful place at our side to face them as your grandfather did in his time. Issei. But what are they talking about? Like taking what belongs to me, like they will come for me. What if I stand next to them? I should take, explain better because I don't understand anything. Suddenly the being of light shone, calling their attention, showing the image of a person whom Issei saw at the moment he freed himself from his darkness, just like Sakvara, and it beat in the meeting they had a while ago. That person was the first goal. Human in the world, the one who defeated God and Great Red at the time. Trihixa was only surprised to see him and remember the one who caused him to seek more power on his own, losing himself in it. Alien elemental of light. Formerly your ancestor was a being of the same origin as ours, an elemental or guardian if you want to say it. His arrival to this universe was very sudden, and even more so his mission for her, but we managed to convince him to protect our side as one. He was my counterpart, the darkness. The same darkness with which you almost got lost, and in which you entered in that form that sought to end all life on the planet. He said, shocking everyone with that information. For millennia some of his descendants were losing their elemental lineage by forming offspring with the native blood of this world, but his lineage still continued to endure, even if it was very weakened by time. We knew that the people behind him were looking for him for betraying them to protect this world, instead of dominating it for them, so altogether we united and sealed that dimension, so that they would not interrupt this world anymore. But unfortunately that seal was not eternal. With his death it was weakened, allowing certain people to manage to contact that world and bring objects of him, along with people in exchange for sending others to his world. But now that one of his descendants has awakened his dormant lineage, it is certain that they will send people to hunt you down. Issei. Why they need me? What does it have to do with my lineage? Lection. Earth Elemental. With your blood and strength it is possible that the powers of that galaxy can pass into this universe, but they would need your help to do so. That is why they seek to capture you, and thus force you to create an opening to this world to dominate it. Augur Water Elemental. That is why we need you to master that power and help us reinforce the barrier of this universe. Without it they can send their lackeys to try to capture you at any cost. Right now there is one present who seeks to capture you for that. Issei. Victor. That asshole is one of his servants, that's why he wants to capture me. Nere's Fire Elemental. You need to take care of him or avoid him until you manage to dominate all that darkness like your ancestor did at the time. We need you to take his position as guardian of this plane with us. Your life will not change because of it, you just have to be able to sending a part of your energy every century to revitalize the barrier seal of this world. You will be able to live peacefully after that with your loved ones if you wish while we watch over the plane as we did from the beginning. Issei. Wait, that's too much. I just got out of a war a few months ago, and recently I almost decimated most of the supernatural beings because of my hatred. How do they want me to dominate all that resentment when I almost ended the life of one of the people? What else do I want? Starani Air Elemental. You are not alone, Heir of Silver, your friends and wives can help you, in addition to having our protection until the time comes. If you want to continue living in this world with them, you must strengthen yourself to be able to fulfill it, or everything for what you fought will be lost to their attacks. My brothers and I will seal the supernatural world so that they do not invade you for revenge during your training. You have 2 years to prepare for their arrival. In the meantime, we will try to stop the nuisances until that date to facilitate your promotion. You need to control your darkness elemental form to confront them if necessary. Issei was about to speak until suddenly he heard an explosion behind him and the elemental barrier alerting them. When they saw the person responsible, they saw all the leaders along with the few survivors trying to break down that barrier to finish them off. Everyone started to get angry because they didn't understand that they couldn't do anything to them, even after everything that happened to them. But before they could protest they saw Surziches in all his power hitting the barrier, trying to break through it while looking at Issei in anger cursing. Issei, even though the girls wanted to leave as the elementals told him, only approached Surziches who growled and looked at him. Issei. Enough Surziches, you and Rias caused this. I warned them what would happen if they didn't leave me alone, but they still went against me when all this happened because of their decisions. They tried to hurt my women, just because I didn't want to. Go back to them, understand, she asked for it when she betrayed me with him. I regret that I had to kill her like the others, but they filled my patience. I gave them several opportunities to leave me alone, and they didn't take advantage of them. Surziches. You just had to accept her again, and all this would be over sooner. She loved you, she loved you. Issei. No, she didn't love me at all. It was just a simple game for her and the others, but when Rizavim happened they wanted to heal with me, but it was too late, they left me and I moved on. Surziches. Why you always have to be the one who causes all this, why the hell you have to be like this? He said kneeling down while crying in front of Issei. Issei. Remember that I always stayed away from them after all, you couldn't keep them away from my Surziches, this would only have been avoided if they had controlled them. Issei looked at everyone else who was behind them and just sighed. I'm sorry. All the deaths I caused with my attack, but remember that this is not entirely my fault. You looked for me, and I only responded that way to protect myself from you. Everything supernatural was silent in these moments. They knew that all this happened because they themselves caused it, but the pain for their loved ones did not allow them to forgive him, even though it was not their fault. When they were about to move forward in their midst a space opened. That from which Valeria and Lilith came out, which surprised everyone although they looked quite tired, but quickly behind them more people began to come out, the other girls being like Rias and the matriarchs, even the goddesses. That surprised everyone, while Surziches and Michael they were going to hug their sisters followed by the others. Issei was a little reluctant to see them again, but he thought it would be a good way for this to be resolved without having to kill someone else again, although his girls were not happy to see them, but they knew that it was better for them to be alive to avoid having a war with the supernatural. Although they were surprised to see them, they quickly realized why Lilith and Valeria were tired. They used their powers to bring them to life again. That's why their fatigue, Valeria's grail, and Lilith's copied power from Office were what caused them to revive. But even so, many were still angry about their relatives who had died at the hands of Issei, so they could not easily forget him. Issei knew that, so he decided to make one last act of good faith towards the supernatural and call the leaders who approached when they heard them calling them. Issei. Listen to me, I want to avoid more problems, but their lives alone will not be enough to calm your people, so I propose something to you in exchange for never bothering me again. What do you think? He said, looking at them intently, although to a certain extent he noticed the looks from his ex-lovers who continued to see him, but in silence even after everything, he felt that they still wanted him back, because he decided to negotiate with the leaders in exchange for being able to live away from all of them once and for all. I can help them revive to all the people I killed before, and in exchange, I ask that you never come close to me again in your life, none of you, and that you prevent them from causing me problems again, okay? What the leaders did not know is that Issei was talking while he showed this to everything supernatural, which was good to prevent them from trying to control him or any tricks on his part. In exchange for helping them revive all the beings that I kill, including the gods, I want everything supernatural to disappear from the human world. Obviously not, it will be total, but if you want to go to the human world, you must go through my approval to avoid more problems on your part. This is not up for negotiation. If you want to have your loved ones back, you must accept it. I will be impartial with everyone, so you can go to the human world. Human world, but since all its factions will have to go through a control on my part for this, after all it is fair since they never thought about that, and the humans were in the line of fire of their problems. I together with my wives will create a system like that of heaven, where depending on their intentions, they can visit the human world, but they speak rules to prevent them from causing problems. If they do not abide by the rules, they will be immediately teleported to their corresponding faction, while they are prohibited from re-entering the human world. The leaders, they were very reluctant to accept it, even more so the gods, but the cry of their people silenced them, so they had only to accept their demands, or they would have an uprising against them again. The ex-lovers were terrified when they heard their demands for what they were about to do. Protest, but Issei, foreseeing this, used his magic and silenced them while he tied his shadows to avoid having to listen to them again, so he looked at the leaders waiting for their answers, which after a while they accepted upon hearing the screams of his people, who were transported to the place to talk and make them accept Issei's deal. Issei. Fine, but first I want the elementals to witness this deal and prevent anything against being planned, he said, receiving a nod while he and the leaders shone, implying that they were under oath. Well then, already done. I want Valeria comes closer. I will give him part of my energy, so that he can revive them all back, and thus fulfill my part. Valeria approached, still reluctant because she would not be able to see him after this if she fulfilled her part of her deal with him, but under the demand of everything supernatural she had to accept it. When she touched Issei's hand, she blushed, earning several hateful glances from both Issei's ex and current women, because she took advantage of that moment to lick Issei's fingers. But remained imperturbable, wanting to end this once and for all, when suddenly she stopped when she felt the spike of energy that Issei had activated for her. His sacred gear reviving all the beings who died at the hands of Issei, earning several cheers from the people for it, although he was reluctant to those screams for him. When it was all over, he separated from Valeria, who due to the sudden increase and decay of energy that she had fell unconscious, being caught by Azazel, who thanked Issei softly for helping him revive his people. Issei walked away from them and approached his wives only to look at them and nod at them as a sign that he finished his work. Issei. Well, listen to me, supernatural. I already fulfilled what was agreed, so from now on I will claim my part of the deal, so we leave at this moment. I hope you don't try anything against me again, because otherwise this time there will be no new opportunity for anyone. I will delete them permanently, so I hope you understand. And so together with their wives and friends, they retired to their home, followed by the guardians who became spheres of light to accompany them and continue talking about their work and the other enemy dimension, while the factions also retreated, although they had to force the girls to do so, since they wanted to go with Issei. Issei and company, after finally ending their relationship with the factions, returned home to finish what they had in hand regarding their position with the elementals. Their talk was very informative, although there were unanswered points, such as their lineage and their entire range of abilities, but the rest referring to the other world was covered by them, including the way to control their elemental state of darkness. After that, the elementals withdrew from Issei's home, who together with his family and women, began to create a magical system where they sealed the human world to avoid the supernatural, which in a month they were able to create it and check its functionality. Right now, after implementing it and putting some of Issei's shadow soldiers in charge of its operation, everyone was living their lives, especially Issei and his women, who were in their living room discussing a topic important to them. Issei. Well girls, after all we can finally be calm without fearing an attack or annoyance from the factions or from them, so let's talk about a very important topic about us, he said, joining his hands while he became serious. Jer. What is it about, Issei? Issei. It's about our wedding. Everyone suddenly became serious. I want to plan the date to do it. After all, I had time with all of you, and I managed to understand your feelings and mine as well as you, so I decided to take the last step and make it official once and for all, since we have the opportunity, plus so I can be with you in the right way. Aika. It's strange that you are very formal in this sense, Issei. Who would say that the perverted Kuo would do things as they are, haha. Issei. Well, that's because even for no reason I would do it, since you are the love of my life, each and every one of you, he said, earning several smiles from everyone. Plus if I don't do it your parents, roomies and especially those from Sakvara, would kill me for getting their daughters pregnant and not doing it properly, he said, seeing the aforementioned who were caressing their bellies, which showed signs of pregnancy, earning several pouts and happy smiles from the others. Sakvara. It was fun to see you the day we told you about our pregnancy, Issei, although the surprise was exciting, I couldn't help but cry with happiness like the others. She said smiling at Issei. Issei. In addition to happiness, they almost killed me because of it, after all, on the very day where I eliminated more than 75% of the supernatural, and they managed to save me, they told me about this, I even almost had a heart attack from the excitement and terror of not being by Kurama. Flashback. The elementals finished their talk with Issei and his new family, so they already left, but there was still something to talk about between the girls and Issei. Issei. Seriously, girls, thank you very much and sorry for getting carried away with my anger with the factions and my ex-lovers. He said, lowering his head. Sakvara. Don't worry, Issei, it's not entirely your fault. Alicia. Issei, that hatred was accumulating inside you without being released, so in the end it exploded, triggering everything that happened. Tsunade. Exactly Issei, it's also our fault for not noticing it sooner and helping you. Mordred. Having learned of your past we should have assumed that this would happen, as concubines I and my companions should have noticed and warned Our Lady and the others. Issei. That still doesn't calm me down, I almost hurt Sakvara, if I hadn't had that little bit of control, I might have ended up losing control and giving my body to that power. Leisha. You should know that even in that situation all of us would have tried to stop you even if we got hurt. Brunhild. As your women we must help you even if we end up injured Issei, remember we are all a family, and we must be there for everyone, even if it means getting hurt in the process. Roigun. You are the man we chose to be by our side Issei, remember that. Ruby. You even gave us these rings to let us know, even though we would have liked it to be in a less crowded place or without people watching us. Viteria. I don't think the same, I like that he proposed to me in front of everyone so they can see who I belong to, and it was also gratifying how they saw the rings when we left. Rumi. I wish I had time to rub it in Citri's face. Issei. I didn't expect you to be like that Rumi, I thought you were more shy. Rumi. And I am, but against her I will demonstrate my superiority, and to whom you belong Issei. She always thought she was a big deal with that stick up her ass of righteousness, so it felt very good to tell her how good we had that day before everything happened. Kurama. Damn, lady, calm down, not even Spartan women are like that when they protect their men, or when they want something, God. Rumi. Do you want to fight? A screaming hairy rat that knows nothing but eating, sleeping and watching television he said seriously, earning several sighs of amazement due to the sharpness of his tongue. Kurama, upon hearing that, just went to the corner to cry. Sharon. God my sister, you are seriously sharp and it even hurt me. Aika. Hahaha well said Rumi, but calm down if it is not necessary to be that aggressive. Ruby. This is said by the person who started her with that, surely she imitated your way of being since in the fight you even said that you did it with Issei, and they also ended up breaking their opponents when they said that they were pregnant with Issei at the first shot. Hahaha. Everyone tensed up because of what Ruby said, while she, seeing that no one was saying anything, fixed her gaze on the others, remembering that Issei, being the father of those two children, was not aware, so everyone quickly turned to look at him, and with time only to see him completely blank in his seat. Ruby. Oops, I think I got a little tongue-tied, right she said, receiving several serious looks, mostly from Aika and Rumi. Leisha. Issei, are you okay, can you hear me? She said, touching him. Weiss. I think we lost it girls. Blake. Well done Ruby, she's just recovering from her fight and you go and drop the bomb like it was nothing. Sakura. I think we should get him some water. Yang. I'm going to get her. She said, retreating to the kitchen. Smith. Issei wake up, we need to talk about that yes. He said softly to wake him up from the shock. Minamoto. Semiramis please bring a pillow for him to lie down on, Carmilla go get Kurama out of his crying state so he can come. Semiramis Carmilla. Okay my lady. Bezdith. I'll turn on the air conditioning to calm it down and it's very hot. Chisato. Everyone calm down, it's just a sudden shock, it'll pass. Bernias. If it's just that, then get away, I'll give you a reason to get out of that state easily. Velvet. What are you going to do to Runias? Bernias. This ladies, learn from an experienced one. And as if nothing had happened, Runias left Issei's titan outside, making everyone who was watching blush, while Ren and John, followed by their partners, went to the other room so as not to see. Bernias. Wow, we have a bad boy here, so I have to make an effort. And as soon as he finished saying it he began to suck his cock vigorously while everyone looked on, still surprised by his audacity. Trihiksa and Lavinia were the first to come out of that state, so they went to stop her, Trihiksa being the one who held her to move her away, while Lavinia pushed her forward, but due to Trihiksa's strength, Lavinia slipped completely engulfing Issei's member. Bernias. Hey, I was doing that first, learn to respect the line, Lady of the Snow. He said, pouting. But Sikvera, tired of this, grabbed Lavinia's head and pulled it away, although when she did so Lavinia's mouth made a noticeable sound as she was detached from Issei's member. Hawk. Which brought everyone out of their stupor. Sikvera. Calm down, this is not the time to be fighting about this, later we will see the order of those who do it, and what days like that, don't despair. Issei. Seriously, there is no time for that, Sikvera. He said excitedly, touching her buttock in a sensual way, exalting Sikvera and the others. But before anything could happen, Kurama appeared with a bucket of ice water which he threw on Issei's head, breaking him out of his excitement. Issei. Thank you, Kurama. Kurama. No dirty things on my couch, if you want to do it in the room, you horny pair. Issei. Leaving all this aside, Rumi, Aika, are they seriously pregnant? Rumi, Aika. Yes, Issei. And without warning Issei went and hugged them, raising them in his arms screaming with happiness. Issei. I'm going to be a damn father, I'm glad to have you girls, I'm the happiest man right now. He said, kissing them both under the jealous gaze of the others. Don't worry girls, I'll make sure to give each of them enough to let them get pregnant, I want a child with each damn, I can even give them all 5 children if they want, or more after all, it means we would have to do it all day long, ha 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 ha. Aika. After all you're still a pervert, Issei, but I'm glad you accepted our children. Issei. How am I not going to accept them if they are my children and that of my wives? Rumi. Issei, thank you for making me the happiest woman by giving me your child. She said, grabbing his face and giving him a chaste kiss. Kurama. Issei, what happens to the third mother who carries your children? He said, drawing attention. Issei. Who? Kurama. The only ones I did it with are Rumi, Aika, Quetzalcoatl, Tsunade, Esdeath, Minamoto, Ruby, Yang, Weiss and Ruby. Silence. Completely silence. Kurama. It was a lot of information, but it's the one you were riding her with the most times, well you made her scream your name or call you daddy, hehe you even called her little butterfly. Sikvera. Kurama, why you, I knew you were spying on me. He said, sending a sphere of energy that crashed into the kitchen wall next to Semiramis, who was sitting at the bar drinking wine. Issei. Sikvera, you are waiting for my son. He said, releasing the 2 girls and going towards her. Sikvera. I wanted to tell you when we were alone to surprise you. Issei without hesitation grabbed her while kissing her, turning with her on top of him, who wrapped her leg around him. Issei. Could this day not be better? And just as he said it, when he released Sikvera, he fell to the ground, fainting from surprise, alerting everyone. Then flashback. Issei. Yes, it was an incredible day despite how it started, although there are 2 ladies who left me wanting that day. Bernias. Do you want me to continue what happened last night with Lavinia, who seems to like giving you blowjobs? He said, licking his lips while Lavinia shrank in shame. Trihiksa Maria Quetzalcoatl Smith. Hey, today it's our turn, hold on. Issei. I think I could take them all today as a gift, do you think? Aika. Issei, you could handle us every day, you're only holding back because our parents are coming, although I don't deny that, I'd like to see how much you can last, isn't it girls? Girls? True. Issei. I try to look like someone decent, Aika, and I still have to buy a colossal size bed to fit everyone in, and one that will also hold up against us. Trihiksa. I love it when you hit me so hard that we destroy the foundations of the house, dear. She said playfully. Issei. Well, tonight I will make sure to punish them all until I am completely satisfied, rest assured. That made everyone blush because even the 28 couldn't against him and his libido. Jer. I wonder how you have so much resistance, Issei, you are a beast. She said, trembling as she remembered how he lifted her on his member and hit her very hard, making her faint. 3. Brunhold. I warned you that if you provoked him you were going to have to put up with it. Alicia. And yet she is the one who asks for it the most when she wakes up again a few minutes after falling. Pierre only blushed because she was discovered. Issei. Leaving that aside, I have to tell your parents the news, and don't let them kill me for doing it to all of you. Will Sikvera and your parents come to the wedding? Sikvera. They will, Issei, after the talk we had with them where we made our relationship and my pregnancy clear, they gave us the go-ahead, we just have to call them and tell them the news. Issei. I understand, so girls, you want to plan the party and the guests. Girls. Let's start, dear. They said happily. 1 month later. Wedding day. Buddha. Calm down boy, breathe, you need to calm down, or you will have an attack. He said, eating his lollipop. Issei. If you were in my case, would you be calm? Issei. Now imagine marrying not only one woman but 28, well their families are present after they were almost taken away from me by telling them that I will marry the 28, in addition to having 7 pregnant. Kurama. You should have known, in addition to Rumi, Aika and Sakvara, 2 weeks later you impregnated Quetzalcoatl, Tsunade, Jer and Brunhild. It is obvious that their parents would be unhappy after all the parents of Ruby and her friends, in addition to the Rumi and Aika, are still human. Issei. It's not my fault they didn't want to fall behind Sakvara, Rumi and Aika with their pregnancy. Bran. That's an excuse because you like that they asked you Issei, you don't fool anyone. John. But they are the ones who looked for it too. Buddha. Leave it, that's true, but remember that in the end your parents accepted it for their daughters, so let's clear up all the nervous feelings and enjoy this evening where one of us commits to the women in his life. Kurama. True, one of us will leave the life of a single and party animal, so as the only ones who make up this group of bachelors, we must fire him hahaha, that's not true Ren and John. Kurama. Guys, what's going on? Ren. We are committed too, I am with Nora. John. And me with Pura. Kurama. Damn traitors, they abandoned me, I thought we were friends. Buddha. Hahaha don't worry my furry friend, I'm still single, so now we will be the last single people until the end. Kurama. At least I still have a friend. He said hugging him in a very unique way. Issei. If you are going to start with your homosexualities, there is no room for you. John. Sheesh bro. Buddha. What, jealous for having stolen your friend from me Issei. No but you can stay, I'm not attracted to men, but to women. Kurama. Wait I'm not gay, let me go. He said crying. Issei. Thank you for making me calm down with your jokes, guys, I love you very much, as friends of course. Buddha. I wasn't kidding with Kurama, no lie I like women equally. Issei. I hope I don't have any problems like the one my wife Brunhild told me about the time I visited you Buddha. Buddha. Got it and understood sir. Issei. I'm glad. Ren. Well guys, Issei must go with his women, let's go or else the 28 will hang the 4 of us. They suddenly felt afraid, imagining what would happen if something went wrong with the wedding. On the altar. Everyone was waiting for the brides while Issei was at the altar waiting for his women in front of everyone. What he didn't know was that both the parents of Sakvara, Leisha and Roygun, were broadcasting the wedding to everything supernatural, at the request of their daughters and several people from the underworld, including several acquaintances of Minamoto and Quetzalcoatl. Were doing it in their factions, which there were people from other territories who broadcast it to their factions to make known the situation of the former pillar, but leaving aside that, everyone suddenly turned around. To meet the 28 girls who were wearing their white dresses along with bouquets of their respective characteristic colors, seeing Issei who was happy and about to shed tears, all of them were accompanied by their parents. When the parents arrived, they gave him a look to Issei saying to take care of them, while Issei nodded to their request, silently swearing to take care of them even in their death. Seeing that the parents proceeded to say goodbye to their daughters, beginning the ceremony where they would become married women. Shinto priest. Today, brothers and sisters, we are present to unite these couples of men and women in marriage, under the oath of our goddess Amaterasu. He said while he saw the aforementioned raise her hands while barely containing her tears. Are you determined to respect each other and love each other following the life of your own marriage, for the rest of your life? Issei and the girls. Yes, we are determined. Shinto priest. Are you willing to responsibly and lovingly receive children from Kami-sama and educate them according to her law and her pantheon? Issei and the girls. Yes, we are determined. Shinto priest. Join your hands and express your consent before our goddess and before her church. Issei. I, Issei, promise to love you all equally. I promise to appreciate and honor you from today onwards for all the days of our lives, both the good and the bad. I swear to always be faithful to them and to support them when they need me in this or the next life. We love you, Issei, as a husband and we give ourselves to you, promising to be faithful to you in joy and sorrow, in health and sickness, all the days of our lives in this or the other life. Issei proceeds to give the rings to each of them, while giving the corresponding kiss, all this while those present applauded and cried, mostly like fathers and mothers when they saw their daughters come together, and on Issei's side, there were his friends. A Kurama being comforted by a Buddha who was crying for his friend who was fulfilling his dream. Kurama. Long live the king of the harem. But before Issei's women could say anything to him, a kitsune servant of Susanoo knocked out Kurama making an apologetic gesture, making those present smile while she left with an unconscious Kurama, which surprised Issei when he saw the blushing face that the maid had to grab Kurama and see where he was touching in a surreptitious way. Issei Pav. Apparently Buddha will be single haha. Everyone proceeded to say goodbye to the married couple who were leaving the church while their parents were recording them, and in front of them was their special car that would take them to their honeymoon. Issei. Well girls, from today our life as a complete family begins, so let me say it again, you could accompany me, this silly boy who fell in love with all of you in my daily life as my women. Sikvara. Issei, I say it for everyone, that's why. They make you as the women of your life, who will be with you as women and mothers of your children. Issei. I love you girls. They proceeded to enter the transport going towards the destination that their hearts decided next to the people who will be from now on as a family. Scene change. End of transmission, analyzing the target data. Victor. Enjoy your happiness Issei Silver, because when you least expect it I will return so that you can finish your ancestors' mission, and this time, I will not be alone. He said, looking at something in the background. The fissure connected to reality was being analyzed by Professor. From that day everything changed in our lives. I abandoned the only thing I could say that was my greatest pride in this life. I left the man who loved me and gave me the best gift I could wish for. I abandoned that precious gift just for me stupid mentality. I knew that with age one lost interest in someone. It was not very strange considering that it always happened due to the fact that the relationship became very repetitive over the years. If I had been aware I would have tried to create more reasons to be with my ex-husband and form more ties by avoiding my mistaken decision. But since everyone believed that the love I felt at the beginning was enough, now I don't have anyone by my side. My husband left this world days after finding out about my escapades. No, I must speak honestly, he did it when he found out that I had slept with a person who did not turn out to be what I thought. Not happy with that, I even left my precious baby aside for that bad thing. No, I have the right to call him that after all. I was the one who gave myself to him, abandoning my husband and son. That son that I loved and protected so much ended up leaving my side too. He was still alive, but I knew that as a mother, I had broken the entire relationship. What was between him and me, all because I let myself be seduced by him. You can tell me that I was a coward for not trying to fix my relationship with my son. With Issei, but I knew that after everything he went through I was one of the people who managed to bring him down completely, so I thought it would be better to let him be happy away from me. After all, I was part of the women who were important to the one who hurt him for a man's cock. The woman who gave birth to him exchanged him for the man who took his loves away from him and turned everyone against him. He had no reason to ask for forgiveness after that. Miki Heidi was sitting on the sofa in the living room, looking at the only family photo she had with her husband and her son Issei. Miki. How could I be so despicable? Sob. How could I do that to my son? I should have been on his side, not supporting others in his banishment, but like a complete idiot, I let others convince me, not even just like their mother, I should have refused to help them but. She, unable to contain herself, hugged the only photo she preserved when they destroyed all of Issei's things the day they banished him. That day when she was burning everything related to him, she was about to burn the photo in her hand but. He couldn't do it, something deep down decided to protect her even secretly from others. He had accepted Issei's ex-wives as his daughters because Asia was with them, and that same day, while he was listening to what they were doing with that guy, he couldn't do it. She endured more and the next morning while her husband was working and the girls were at school, she went to him to feel the same sensation as the girls. From that moment on she did it with him every chance she could or there was an opportunity. Just remembering it made her nauseous, but she knew that this was her punishment for having done it. Looking at the photo again with teary eyes she remembered the day Issei looked at her at that meeting. The look of pain he gave stayed stuck in her heart. It hurt, but he decided to endure it, since compared to what he suffered, this alone was nothing. The day of the girl's wedding with him was sudden. Even if she wanted to refute it, she would not deny that she was jealous. Who would say that at that moment everything would come to light? Not only was she the only one who was involved with him, but many more women were accomplices, married women and goddesses, had the same encounters as her and him. All of them were very disgusted and terrified when they saw the true identity of the man who made them abandon everything they had for simple carnal pleasure, their world. They received a devastating blow, but she quickly came to her senses upon hearing the cry of agony and pain that the boy who was her son gave. She, still devastated, quickly looked up seeing her Issei fighting while bleeding or suffering, all because the person's fault for the one who despised him on his side, saw when even in his deplorable state he continued to fight. Her heart ached to see him receive the attacks, but the worst came after he received that powerful attack from his captors. She feared that she had been responsible for that he was dead. If she had not abandoned him, he would never be facing his captors, since she would have immediately taken him away from Japan the day they all abandoned him, so that they could not harm him. But she could do nothing as she was complicit in abandoning him. If the disgust was strong, the pain and fear was even more so when he saw the possible death of his despised son. But as a grace or punishment he was still alive, but no longer being the adorable child that he was, but being a creature of rage and hatred. She knew that this was partly due to her, but even knowing that she was part of his transformation, she was happy that at least he was still alive. When they saved him, my heart skipped a beat when I saw his condition. I wanted to cry, and I even wanted to take my own life. Seeing him like that in those moments, his baby was devastated. His past decisions led to these moments. All his pain was due to her. Miki screamed while crying when remembering the state of her baby. Because I was so dumb to leave him away, my baby, my beautiful baby. The images of Issei's body in that pitiful state always haunted her head. As a reminder of their sins. She quickly covered her face as she continued to cry, but still sat back down on the couch looking at the photo on the floor. Issei. I hope I look good, mother-in-law. He said nervously while he was in front of the mirror. Miki looked at the screen in front of her watching her son's happiest day with sadness. Aika's mother. There, my boy, don't worry, you look beautiful. He said while adjusting his tie. Issei. Thank you for accepting me. I know that I am not the most qualified in your eyes, but seriously, thank you for allowing me to be next to your daughter. He said, looking at her from the front. Aika's mother. Issei, I can say that you are the one. I know that you didn't have good times because of what you went through, but since you showed us the truth of the world, I can say that I don't think there is anyone more qualified to take care of my girl. Not only I say it, but we all do it. Issei was silent. Aika's mother. Listen, I know that you are reluctant to accept my words because of your family situation. She said, making Issei sigh, and Miki pressed the photo. But remember, the son will not necessarily repeat the mistakes of his parents, so promise me that you will be better yet. You will be the most dedicated husband for Aika, and the most loving father for my grandson. Issei. Thank you for helping me so much this day. Aika's mother. Issei, from today we will be a family, and even if we are not close we will be together. Trust, if we do not abandon you, we will be by your side and that of our daughter and your son. Issei. Thank you, I need help learning to be a good father and husband. He said, hugging her. Miki just cried when she saw Issei. She should have been the one to say those words to him, but because of her decision she condemned those possibilities. At least one of Issei's wives was generous in giving him away to see him this day. Sakvara was walking seriously towards her lover's old house. When she was in front of the door she knocked on it, hearing a slight movement from the other side, being quickly answered by the sound of the door opening, saying that she was taken aback when she saw the pained look of the person in front of her would be very accurate, Miki Haidu. Issei's mother was in front of her wearing simple clothes. While it was seen that she was still crying because of her situation, Miki, seeing her, did not know what to do if she insulted her or killed her. No. I wouldn't say anything, after all she deserved it, but seeing her I can't help but ask. Miki. Issei, he said, barely audible. Sakvara composed himself and returned to his serious gaze to face her. Sakvara. Madam Haidu, can I chat with you? Both women were sitting face to face in the living room, which was completely messy. Both looked at each other without speaking until. Sakvara. Madam, listen to me, I know you want to know about Issei, but you should know that he has no desire to know about you or even see you for that reason. Miki. I know, I don't even deserve to be in his thoughts because of my actions, but still. He said, starting to cry again. Even so, I would like to know about him, even if it's indirectly. I don't deserve that, but I want to. At least know if she is living her happy life by his side. I won't say that you help me see it and give me a chance because I know that I don't even deserve it, but please at least tell me how it is. He said, looking at her pleadingly. Sakvara just watched her in silence for a while until she raised her hand and created a sphere where Issei and them could be seen enjoying their life. Miki smiled to see him at least happy after all the pain she caused him. Sakvara. Mother-in-law. He said, earning her a look of surprise. I know you don't deserve me to say that to you, but even after all, you are the woman who gave birth to the man I love, so if I allow you to give that to you, I want to tell you that both I and others we are pregnant. Miki cried again, but this time it was from happiness at seeing her son form the family he wanted so much. I don't mean by this that I want her to meet her grandchildren, but at least I want her grandmother too. Miki just lowered her head at that. Obviously she won't be invited, but she can see it from here. Miki quickly saw her. That day when everything is over, I'll send a signal to this card which you must put on your television, and there it will broadcast the wedding ceremony live. This is the only thing I can do for you. After that, we will never see each other again at Issei's request. Miki just fell to her knees when she heard that. This was more than she deserved, but she was still happy to at least see her son settling down, but the mention of his name caught her attention. Sakvara. We all talked to him about this, and although most of us did not want you to see us that day, not even on video, Issei agreed to give him this gift as a reward for the years he was by his side, despite what he did to him. When I finished she quickly got up and went to the door. This was my idea, madam, not because I felt sorry, but as a sign of respect to the family of the man I decided to follow for the rest of my life. Goodbye. And sin more words were withdrawn. Miki. I hope you are happy, Issei, with your wives and children, and please be better than us. he said, watching the moment where he sealed his vows with each of his women and they left the chapel. "Congratulations, my son," he said, crying. "Thank you, mother." Mickey could only hear the faint whisper of Issei's lips, who looked at the camera at that moment before everything went off, so he smiled as he shed a tear of happiness upon hearing his son's last words of love for him. Interesting, a word both good and bad depending on the case in which you see it. Everything in the world is governed by it, including love. It is an important part that determines our efforts on our path and objectives, but if it is not, you know how to measure and control can lead you to perdition. Ria's Gremory. The devil girl who mainly let herself be carried away by him when she had everything in her hand, a clear example of the sin of greed, or better known as greed itself, as well as of pride. She was always greedy in what she got and wanted. She was always the best for the best, a complete greedy person, who did not accept anything that was not the pinnacle of it. Her pride led her to believe that everything that should be next to her had to be as good as herself and her family greatness. Two extremely dangerous sins if they were combined with one's own interesting, a dangerous mixture that hurts both the person who has it and those around them. A clear example was her and Issei. At the beginning her interest was good, wishing free himself from his commitment, but after seeing that in reality he was more than he thought, that interest changed. Red Emperor Dragon. A powerful existence that could throw the world into chaos. Issei was more valuable than he initially assumed, because seeing that her luck always led her to fortune, she wanted more. Her unconditional love for him changed to pure interest. She abandoned everything that Issei gave her, wanting more, changing to the one that according to her, had no value to her. Side by someone who was better, I stole the power that belonged to her to give it to that someone, so that he could be better. Even that satisfaction came from seeing how her friends, colleagues and acquaintances asked to be under her, to have the best man by her side, as always. She wanted it, the best for her. It's a shame that that was what caused all of that to be her downfall. All of them felt it. They felt all the hatred and resentment that Issei had for them. He had killed them without even hesitation. Even when they tried to ask for forgiveness, he did not listen to them. Their pleas and regrets were deaf to him. After all, they hurt him in the worst way possible, but his stupid interest was greater than his regret, so even after he had told them and threatened that he did not want to see them or know anything about them, they still continued trying to get him back, which led to him being their executioner. It was not a quick death, it was slow and tortuous. They knew it even when they were out of their minds. He enjoyed making them suffer until their last breath. By divine luck or by a bad joke of fate or life itself, they managed to return from their death thanks to their friends. Valeria and Lilith resurrected them using their powers, but the image in front of them when they returned was very worrying. A huge supernatural army was surrounding Issei, which was in front of them, Lucifer being separated by a barrier erected by unknown giants, but it altered them. Seeing that Issei was with his new women protecting them, he saw them all again, but his look was nothing more than annoyance. They wanted to go and try to talk to him, thinking that the barrier was to contain him, but they didn't count on him. He spoke, breaking any idea that he would allow them that. Issei. Listen to me, I want to avoid more problems, but their lives alone will not be enough to calm your people, so I propose something in exchange for never bothering me again. What do you think? I can help you revive all the people who I killed them before, and in exchange, I ask that none of you ever come close to me again in your life, and that you prevent them from causing me problems again, okay? In exchange for helping you revive all the beings I killed, including the gods, I want you to. Everything supernatural disappears from the human world. That was enough to paralyze all their plans. They planned to intercept that treaty, but they couldn't move. Something prevented them from even speaking to refuse. They knew it, and they turned their gaze to the only person who could do that. They saw how Issei gave them that look. They couldn't do anything to prevent it. Everyone agreed to recover their deceased relatives. They saw how he left with his current partners. They wanted to prevent it, but they all noticed the engagement rings that each of them had. One of them, they couldn't tolerate it, but before they could do anything they were stopped by their acquaintances. They couldn't stop him from leaving with them. They lost the opportunity to prevent it. They even tried to go to the human world, but they couldn't. They wanted to cry and scream, but nothing was enough to make the others leave them. They were taken to their homes without being able to resist. After all, they caused a massacre with their attempts to recover it, so no one wanted to leave them free to cause that bloody thing again. Destination. 1 month was enough for all of them to be completely put under observation. Due to their attempts to go to the human world, all of them were basically put under total surveillance to prevent it. Right now all of them were in a safe house in the underworld, being constantly monitored to avoid any escape attempts. Even more so after Ria's prematurely lost the son she was expecting from the Rizavum clone. Being the only one to be pregnant by the devil, Lucifer almost went crazy when she found out. She even tried to convince herself that it was the son of her and Issei, but luckily for her, the fetus was not genetically fit, so it ended up being expelled prematurely. When the others found out, they feared that they would have the same misfortune as her, so they did tests, luckily ruling out the low birth rate for the first time. From the supernatural was a salvation for them. Unfortunately, Ria's was not, luckier was she. Since that indicates that she would be a $1 million devil who could have gotten pregnant if she wanted to, but that pregnancy was wasted with the wrong person. Her brain began to think about it. Hers would have done it with Issei. Would she be their child? Would she have been able to have the same luck with him and get pregnant easily? Or was her destiny playing tricks on her? If she had been aware of what she was causing right now, she would be pregnant with Issei and would have been celebrating it as she was possibly the first woman of his to give him a child. All those thoughts began to eat away at her from the moment they were around her head. But I don't wait, the next thing, which destroyed her. Issei apparently was able to impregnate Sakvara, Quetzalcoatl, Brunhold and Little Jer. Her whole world fell apart when she heard the news. First, 2 humans were the ones who were impregnated by the first, and now there were 5 women. But including the one who made him forget them, she was upset, very upset about it, and more as it was announced. Devil Reporter. Good afternoon, supernatural people. We have important news about the current status of the fallen hero Issei Haidu. Today the news was confirmed to us by a supernatural couple who resides in the human world and is in contact with them. According to their reports, Issei Haidu is arranging with his wives the date of his wedding with them. Right now we are in front of the Aguirre's family house looking for confirmation of that shocking news about Issei and his wives. A live broadcast of a reporter was seen in front of the Aguirre's residence asking for a few words from him when the patriarch and matriarch Aguirres appeared from the entrance addressing them. Devil Reporter. Good afternoon, Lord Aguirres, we would like to ask you if you have any important information about the current status of your daughter with Issei Haidu, and if it is true that they are arranging a date for a possible wedding between them. She said, trying to get the most important scoop to date since the massacre at the hands of Issei to the supernatural. Lord Aguirres. Yesterday we both received the news from our daughter about the date of a wedding that will be held in the human world at the request of our son-in-law. The date will not be given for obvious personal reasons of them and us. That disconcerted everyone, but in exchange we have more important news apart from the wedding of our daughter and heir. Recently she visited us today with her partner to give us the news of they are expecting an heir from her. My daughter Sakvara Aguirres, as well as 4 other women, are pregnant with Issei, making a total of 7 women who are carrying their child at the moment. This news and confirmation was enough to turn everyone upside down. The heiress Aguirres is carrying a son of the current imposed leader of humanity, being completely of his blood, and not only that, but 6 other women were in the same way expecting his child. Several pantheons were shocked by that news because his current strength was unknown, and right now he was expecting children who could possibly inherit his powerful lineage, along with that of his wives. But they did not have time to assimilate it because the Aztec faction notified the world that their leader and main goddess Quetzalcoatl, along with her right-hand Tsunade, were expecting an heir to their empire and a son from Issei, as were both ex-Valkyries who were in the same way. In Asgard their 11 sisters almost caused a disaster when several members tried to question and hold them back to get that confirmation from them, so a guard regiment was completely decimated. Several pillar families congratulated the Aguirres upon learning this news, although the Astaroth and Belphegor had different reactions to only being their daughter and not theirs in giving them grandchildren, so even live they went to the Aguirres' residence, and in the middle of the interview, they began to fight with the patriarch Aguirres. They would have continued if it were not for their wives who intercepted them, and they took their place in the interview, beginning to give details of their daughter's relationship with Issei. Riaz was furious because she was not the center of attention, and she was not the one celebrating that wedding with the brunette. The others had different and varied reactions. Some accepted it, knowing that they could not do anything against them, as they were the ones who caused this scenario. The others were reluctant because they could not be the ones who occupied that place, as women and mothers of their children and Riaz, Gabriel, Mio and Aphrodite were in denial. These 4, being the closest to Rizavam and his lascivious acts, were the ones who suffered a mental regression, leaving them unstable, which was not new based on their recent behaviors, which became explosive when they found out about the wedding and pregnancies of those women. Riaz, among others, was the most dangerous due to her destructive power, but she did not finish her misfortune that day. Since some time later all those involved in this love affair were face to face watching live coverage by the patriarchs Aguirres, Astaroth and Belphegor of the wedding of their daughters in the human world, at the request of their heirs, in addition to being the rule of their society to show said event by uniting their heir in commitment. Although that had to happen when both were pure-blood devils, but the leaders wanted to keep an eye on that commitment which, even if it was out of their hands, was too important to be one of the most powerful powers currently, leading the top dangerous entities in the world, with Issei being ranked number 1 in the ranking. Riaz. I can't believe they are celebrating under our noses, those ungrates are stealing our places next to Issei. She shouted, calling the attention of the other former women of Issei. Bekeno. Stop it, Riaz, it's our fault that they are there instead of us, we were the ones who changed it for our interest. She said, enduring her sadness. Riaz. But. Sona. Riaz, your queen is right, we caused this by not valuing her feelings towards us at the time, so we must shut up and swallow this lesson, so that in the future, we will be better and know how to value what we have. She said, looking straight ahead. The wedding lived, shedding light tears of sadness when she saw Rumi taking her place next to Issei, and being with the gift most desired by her and the others. A son of his. Riaz. Still I can't allow it, he belongs to me, he is only mine, I should be the one who was with him at the altar, I should carry his son in my womb, not Sakfara or any one of the others, just me. The Keno tiredly got up while she was talking and slapped her in front of everyone else, stopping her ranting once and for all. The Keno. Enough Riaz, all this is our punishment for having discarded him, we all had the fault that right now he is making his life with other women, and we are not the one to accompany him in his day-to-day. Riaz. How dare you Akeno, don't think this will stay like this, when I get Issei back I will not let him be with them at all. Akeno. And how will you do it, Riaz? Remember, he doesn't love us anymore. Did you feel it the day he attacked and murdered us without thinking about it? Besides, do you think you have the slightest decency to leave him? After all, although we were the ones who followed you, all this happened because you yourself provoked it, you put that man in our path, you led him to make us fall in love and betray us, because of your desire to always obtain the best, is that we lost a man who would have given everything for us, he would even give his life without hesitation. He already showed it before, but now he would not even blink if we were faced with death and let us die, all this was driven by your pride and greed, and we, like idiots, follow you in this sick game of superiority. Riaz. How dare you? Asia. She's right, Riaz, we hurt him in the worst way we could, and now we are paying dearly for our sin. He gave everything for us, he gave me a family, love and a home that he calls home, but I didn't know how to value it, and I ended up becoming what those in the church told me, I am a witch who brings misfortune to those around me. Gabriel. This sin that we committed was unforgivable, but even so he promised to love us no matter what happened, he broke that promise he made to us, and he must keep it, we are the only women he can love. Irina. Gabriel, leave him alone, we hurt him a lot, we made him suffer, we must accept that he is not by our side because of us, he did nothing wrong, it was us who caused this punishment. Sona. We were the only stupid ones who caused all his suffering and that of our people, now we must accept it and stay still to avoid making it even worse, after all, even if we want to get him back, he will not allow us to enter his life again, and his wives will fight if necessary, they are better than us by not changing it or letting themselves be fooled like us. They deserve it more than us and he deserves it, if I can deal with any of them I will apologize and leave with my head down, then everything is the least I can do, I don't expect to receive forgiveness, but I want at least to know that I regret everything I caused him. Leo. Even if we can't be with him, at least we can be with one of his children, after all they carry his blood, so it wouldn't be very different from that, even if they carry the lineage of those bitches, don't you think? Scarlet. You won't be able to do it Mio, unless you want him to kill you permanently this time, I don't think he'll allow you to do that with his children without him intervening, so I suggest you stop everything you plan to do to approach them. If you don't want to suffer at their hands. Then Alana. Has anyone received news from Mrs. Haidu? I haven't heard from her, and I think she would be better off if she at least saw her son with us to calm down about her. Rafia. I don't know Venelana-sama, from that day on she decided to go to the human world alone. They were all talking about their topic, but when Venelana mentioned Mrs. Haidu in the middle of the room, a magic circle appeared showing that she was watching her son's wedding while crying in the living room of her home, which made them shut up and lower their heads. Since that showed that even his mother had no chance of being forgiven by him. And that's it guys. That was the end of season 1. Let's see what's gonna happen in season 2. Shall we? Scene change. In front of Issei and his wife a woman with mechanized features appeared. Issei. Well. You're supposed to be what? A kind of cyborg. Sephara. My name is Sephara Sarasilbs, I am an Ever and a Maiko from Universe FXF, known as Fader Fedora, it's nice to meet you, people of Draconic Deus Universe. DXD. Issei. Aha and why are you here? Sephara. The EXE universe or as you know as Evi Edeld, the outer gods are coming after you. The scenes changes again. Issei was in front of a huge army of mechanized soldiers, at the top of the army 3 figures were watching him while leading the mechanized soldiers. It was him. The true evil outer god. Destroyer of the creation. The one who destroyed countless of universes, without any mercy. The conqueror of the worlds. Rigalziva. The outer god. Custo Castrum. So you are the descendant of Silver, it is time for you to complete the work left unfinished by your past. Join us, young Sliver. Issei. Yes, of course, and after that, I join you and we conquer my world, well, screw you, I won't allow you to do it after all, my family lives in it, and I won't let my children and wives live in something similar to your world. The outer god. Kaserkrif. Just like Silver, you are a fool, I should have assumed. Castrum teach him who he should follow and obey, and to be quick, I don't want to spend more time in this disgusting world than I have to. Scene change. Sakvara. I thought I told you before Riaz, I don't want to see you near Issei, he's my husband, and I won't allow you to continue bothering him, did you not learn last time? Riaz was silent. Bekeno. Riaz, you know that's not the reason we're here. Riaz. But. Ingloved. I know Riaz, I miss him too, but right now we have to put that aside due to the situation. To be. What do you want in front of us then if it's not to bother our husband? The scenes changes again. Issei was in outer space. Out the solar system itself. Talking with unknown entity. Hello young Issei. Issei. You. But how? Indeed, young Silver. I am. That. I am. The scenes changes again. Alien. Issei, the outer gods are about to move to this universe, we must prepare for the coming war. Issei. Wait, how they managed to get through if I didn't open the way for them. Lection. We do not have an irregularity. Issei. What irregularity? Vulcano. A younger brother of yours. Issei. Wait. What? The scenes changes again. Surziches. Riaz, that child of yours is from. Riaz. From Issei, right brother? It's my precious Issei, isn't it? Surziches. Was silent. Riaz. Finally we will be a happy and united family, Issei will not be able to leave me side as I carry his son. Again no answer from the Crimson Satan. The scenes changes again. In front of Issei was someone sitting under a tree, apparently the being was someone older due to his wrinkled features and white hair. Issei. Great-grandfather. Fang. Issei, I see that it's time for us to finally talk. Issei. How? Fang. Son. I was someone different in my youth, I was cold and calculating, but because of a woman I changed, she was the one who encouraged me to prevent my people from dominating this world, her soul was the purest that I could appreciate, although her temperament was something else hahaha. Issei was silent. The scenes changes again. Kurama. Issei, you know what will happen if you do it, right? Issei. I know the consequences. Kurama. Then you know you won't be able to come back after that. Issei. I know, but I have to do it, I can't let my children suffer for not protecting the world where they were born. Kurama. And your wife's. Issei. They will understand after all, I do it for them and my children. Promise me to take care of them, okay? Kurama. Like my children, Issei, I will take care of them if they were my own. Issei. Say goodbye to me for everyone, okay? And tell your wife to stop calling my little Shun like she does, his name is Shun no Peach. Kurama. You know I can't tell him anything without him asking for another puppy, right? Issei. That you are dominated is not my problem, you already promised to take care of my children, that includes their identity, lazy ass. Well. We gonna see all that in the next season. Until that time, take care.